The deathless ones, beings who persist beyond mortality's grasp. These eternal entities, having broken free from life and death's endless circle, discovered that dominating an entire realm required surprisingly little effort. Claiming dominion over the planet known as Earth appeared certain and merely awaited the passage of time. At least that was their assumption. However, events took an unexpected turn. Bony warriors, bewildered by unfolding circumstances, gazed upon the silhouette emerging from blazing fires. This being was human, merely human. Their skeletal forms quivered with confusion. How could he remain among the living when all others had perished? The silhouette advanced steadily, unaffected by scorching temperatures and surrounding turmoil. Perhaps stubbornness drove him, or something deeper. With a casual smirk, he spoke a brief statement. Maybe he simply possessed superior strength. Strike. A skeleton warrior crumbled to fragments as though its presence held no substance. Bone debris crashed downward with thunderous noise. 2 years earlier, he had arrived in Seoul with dreams of transforming his existence. Yet now these aspirations felt remote and nearly worthless. From within the dwelling came his sister's voice, strained by exhaustion and frustration. She declared her patience had reached its limit. She had permitted his stay when he promised to seek employment. Instead, she witnessed endless days consumed by drinking and gaming. Should this pattern persist, he must return to their parents' home. Though she was his junior sibling, she could not depend on their parents at her current age. With New Year approaching, she insisted he secure at least temporary employment. He deflected as usual, suggesting they discuss the matter later. Weariness clouded his thinking. Her anger erupted once more, and he retreated to his room without hearing her finish, slamming the door. Collapsing heavily onto his bed, he released a deep breath. His life had become pathetic. Self-loathing consumed him. University had provided nothing beyond an internship at a major corporation that led nowhere. Only menial jobs remained available, warehouse work, or worse options. He recalled leaving his game running before the argument. A weary sigh escaped him. If only reality resembled video games where everything made sense. Clear classes, objectives, advancement levels existed there. In such a world, he would discover suitable work. One could become a fighter, mage, or blade master. Purpose existed there. Reality offered only emptiness and shame. He pressed his face into the pillow, attempting to forget that tomorrow would bring identical struggles. Sleep claimed him, but suddenly text messages materialized. A fresh link to the Hawan dimension had been detected. Earth's defensive protocols activated. Contact with the Hawan realm was temporarily forbidden. Planetary training would commence. Haken found himself standing bewildered within an alien environment resembling both gaming worlds and dreams. Glowing text floated overhead like video game interfaces. The entire scene felt absurd and impossible. He blinked repeatedly, yet the floating words persisted. The countdown to full Hawan dimensional connection continued ticking. Nearly 5 years remained. The system welcomed Kanhen to training initiation with an emotionless, mechanical voice. 8 training phases comprised the complete program. Death would not cause physical termination, but would eliminate chances for retrial. Successful training completion offered rewards, potential activation, and awakening. Everything appeared to be another fantasy sequence. Gaming delusions, triggered by sleepless nights, stress, his sister's criticism, and unfulfilled ambitions. Still, who cared if this was merely a dream? Perhaps this represented divine intervention, one final opportunity to give his all. Consider it another game. First phase entry. The system declared his bravery would rescue Earth. Training details and initial stage regulations were announced. Reach the designated destination. Cross the span. Conquer your deepest terror. Failure condition equals death. Hakuna suddenly appeared on a narrow stone walkway beneath which crimson molten rock bubbled violently. Intense heat seared his flesh as though these events were reality, not dreams. On adjacent bridges, dozens of people gathered, equally bewildered and terrified. Among them, Kakina spotted his younger sister. Their mutual astonishment deepened the surreal atmosphere. Both attempted to rationalize the situation. Moments earlier, everyone had been at home. Now they stood in this strange realm above a fiery chasm. Their minds grasped distant words about Earth's salvation and trials, yet meaning dissolved amid general confusion. Searing heat prevented coherent discussion. This exceeded ordinary dreaming. Uncertainty evaporated, replaced by growing dread. Something unnatural and perilous was clearly occurring. Chiyun believed the human mind deceives easily, since dream pain differs from waking sensation. He remembered an embarrassing dream episode where he believed he needed to urinate and awoke relieved to find dry bedding. His sister merely wondered at his thought patterns. Cahoon announced his intention to advance toward the bridge's end, since reaching the destination was the test requirement. He reasoned that since everything felt dreamlike, any fall would simply awaken him. His sister warned of danger, but Kai-Lun maintained his position. Their argument ceased when someone screamed. A test participant had fallen. The human form plunged into lava, visible briefly above the surface. Only an outstretched arm lingered, before vanishing in molten streams, raising gray smoke clouds. Both watched in stunned silence as the sleep illusion gained terrifying authenticity. His sister looked at Ken Hun, recalling his earlier statements. He admitted the scream they heard seemed too genuine. Though he attempted composure, doubt began growing within his chest. His sister chose not to await his confidence and decided to proceed first. She crawled carefully on hands and knees along the narrow stone bridge suspended above hot lava. She cautioned her brother. Walking upright would prove too dangerous. Ken Hyun, despite trying to appear confident, reluctantly acknowledged that crawling was probably wiser. Lava boiled beneath them, rising heat burning skin even from a distance. Other people on bridges also began moving forward slowly, nearly all on hands and knees. Panic yielded to caution and fear. His sister spoke again. She sought to comprehend their situation and felt certain this exceeded ordinary dreaming. Everything seemed too authentic to be a typical nightmare. She doubted that death here would lack consequences. Ken Hyun, who previously dismissed her concerns, now genuinely considered them. His certainty began cracking. Whatever this was, it clearly transcended normal sleep perception. He pressed his lips together, struggling to contain irritation. He tried ignoring the fear, heat, and panic. Yet Kankin's words reminded him of their reality. He lay flat against the bridge, admitting fear had paralyzed him. He was indeed an unreliable older brother, and she, observing him, silently agreed with this assessment. He sighed deeply, pressed against cold stone, and suggested resting. His limbs trembled. His body refused cooperation. Suddenly, an interface window appeared before them. Cold, emotionless text announced sufficient time had elapsed since training began, and complexity would now increase. Moments later, the stone bridge groaned beneath them, cracking as fragments began falling. Screams erupted. People panicked. Some lost balance and plummeted into seething lava below. Heat intensified. Screams grew louder. Someone shouted about bridge collapse as crowds surged forward. Khan froze in panic, but his sister's voice pulled him from numbness. She had already risen and was running ahead. He called for her to wait and pursued. Stones vanished behind them. The bridge collapsed rapidly. Ken ran with all strength, feeling hot air beginning to burn from behind. He forced concentration. The bridge remained wide enough. He would not fall by avoiding downward glances, only forward movement, step by step. He repeated this mantra. Everything would be fine. He would not fall. He was nearly across. Confidence increased with each step. This was not the end. He would succeed. Everything would conclude soon. Kenyon noticed massive stone blocks falling toward his sister. He leaped from his section to hers, managing to push his sister aside and shield her from impact. Simultaneously, the interface confirmed first stage completion. Training recognized them as temporarily awakened and granted rewards, promising full awakening upon program completion. Physical and mental exhaustion struck immediately. Kanyan was depleted beyond finger movement. The screen displayed his sister's status with body and spirit parameters, strength, agility, stamina, magical energy. One free attribute point and unique trait, composure, were also shown. His sister expressed gratitude for his rescue. Both still needed to process the recent events. Next awareness of the incident reached Kuhn in his personal room. Reality seemed to return instantly, like abrupt game termination. Social media discussions were already intense. Users shared identical collective dream experiences. They debated dream death significance, posted humorous content, and links to unique ability owner chat rooms. Some had even invested in fictional training currencies. Meanwhile, the global countdown continued measuring time until complete Hawan world connection. 4 years, 384 days, 15 hours. The world had clearly transformed, along with everyone who completed the first stage. Early morning arrived. Kankan's room door opened and he heard his sister's voice calling him. He immediately inquired whether she experienced the dream where they crossed bridges over lava and nearly died. She confirmed remembering everything. It was not simply a dream. They both sensed this truth. Most importantly, the status window that appeared finally and the realistic nature of events. They interrupted each other, trying to speak first, but quickly shifted to arguing. He turned away and snorted dismissively. However, after a moment, both considered and said almost simultaneously, "Perhaps we should eat first." The response was unanimous agreement. Early morning trends featured dozens of strange phrases from World's End to status windows. News feeds confirmed identical nightmares visited millions. Continents buzzed with activity. Training rankings concerned analysts. Hawin dimensions remained incomprehensible terminology. Journalists calculated 3 or 4 out of 10 experienced almost no serious injuries. Seoul streets showed fever pitch. Windows were shattered. Crowds fought over any merchandise. Self-proclaimed prophets with banners proclaimed approaching world judgment. Kan Hyun and his sister observed chaos from their balcony. They felt the heat of growing panic below. Venturing outside seemed like madness. Work was cancelled. Transportation had stopped. Status window checks revealed a 5-year countdown until full connection. Nearly 5 years appeared generous for preparation, yet no plans existed. Experts remained silent, advised staying home, and stirred with provisions. The heated city seemed to await secondary events. His sister feared the future. Her brother assessed food supplies. Both decided to wait out initial days until streets cooled and information clarified. By evening, first-day chaos had subsided. Streets were cleared. Most residents returned to usual concerns, and relative national stability returned. Ken Hyun went to sleep and found himself again in training space. An interface window appeared before him, offering welcome and instructions. He skipped introductory material and immediately requested personal characteristics. The status panel showed name Kan Hyun, title first-level newcomer. Primary parameters were distributed as follows: Strength 8, Agility 9, Stamina 8, Magical Power 14. A special line showed unique ability as Resurrection. No experience existed for comparing these numbers, but high magical power seemed promising. Kana's attention focused on the unique ability. The system guaranteed return to life one day after death. Furthermore, the revival point would be the last death location, unless specified otherwise. A penalty applied for this. All parameters reduced to level and additionally dropped 50% for 24 hours. Realizing his life no longer depended on single attempts, Kaney experienced relief and joy. Resurrection ability opened opportunities for risks and experiments. Despite accompanying restrictions, Kan Hyun faced his learning's first nightmare, brutal reality. The initial goblin fell easily only because Kan Hyun surprised it. Yet victory brought no satisfaction. He trembled from realization. He had killed a living being within some training framework. However, this did not end there. A goblin warrior materialized before him, many times larger and more dangerous. The sword exceeded 1 meter. Knife-like teeth, clear and decisive movements. And here stood Kyun with a cheap mace only 70 centimeters long, with hands weakened by sedentary living, lacking skills and experience. The goblin's strike brought down the sword forcefully. Kenyon attempted defense with his mace, but it was like defending against a hammer with a toothpick. The impact knocked the weapon from his hands and felled him. He could not even scream. Horror lodged like a lump in his chest. Why was he here? Why must he endure this at all? Rage and despair battled within him. The goblin did not kill him immediately. Instead, it grabbed Kenyon's shirt and dragged him to an unknown destination. Thrown to the ground like a sack, his back was torn open, clothing ripped. Kenyon no longer shouted. He only silently prayed to awaken. His body contained far more blood than imaginable. This became clear as he felt every drop slowly draining from wounds. Death's terror approached gradually, like a cold noose around his throat. Agony continued endlessly, becoming quiet, inhuman torture. 4 goblins were in no hurry to finish their victim and forced prayer for final breath. At dawn, his sister awakened, torn from nightmares with identical recurring visions. Her head throbbed as if stakes were driven into it, and quiet, nearly soundless sobbing came from behind the wall. In the adjacent room, Canyon sat on his bed wrapped in blankets. His body shook, eyes staring into emptiness. Goblin images still haunted him, and each memory whispered with panicked terror. He recalled how they pulled his nails one by one. Blood dripped and his body trembled with pain and fear. He described dying from blood loss, exhausted and crippled. His sister interrupted the account, unable to bear torture details. She mentioned also dying, but her death was less painful. His sister teased him about tears, but felt internal sympathy. He said even Guanu would call for mother in such circumstances. His sister asked whether he needed medical attention and remembered statistics. Psychotrauma patients had increased sharply in 2 days. Canyon replied he lacked hospital funds. His sister said, "Earn some," and turned away. He concluded death was the path to training completion. Caney hoped past death would provide respite. The screen flashed before his eyes. Training was not finished. An error message appeared. Immediate transition. The inscription read, "Let your courage save the earth." Stage 2, round 2 begins, appeared in the window. Ken Hyun froze, seized by horror. His body began trembling again. Ken Hyun rages against the system, understanding training has no ending. He attempts sleep, but constantly restarts in subsequent rounds. The thought of endless loops brings despair. Hunger intensifies irritation. Previously, he chose a mace for simple impact. Now he decides to avoid close combat and selects a bow. He examines crossbow and spear options. The South Korean reservist recalls shooting training and targets 2 goblins. The first arrow misses, revealing inexperience with new weapons. Goblins notice the error and, growling, charge to attack. Canyon switches to the spear, thrusting it into the first enemy. The blade lodges in the carcass, hindering weapon extraction. The second goblin already swings its sword. Canyon cannot turn in time. A powerful blow means instant death without suffering. The body collapses. Ken Hyun awakens in his room covered by horror, but rejoices in brief pain. The interface activates again, declaring stage error and immediate restart. The system demands new courage, promising Earth's salvation beyond fear. Kanyan grimaces at the next salvation of Earth slogan. Stage 2, round 3 launches. The system provides sword and shield. All day he studied fencing videos, hoping for miracles. Goblins attacked from all directions, panic spreading chaotic movements. Piercing pain, red screen, instant return to the cold room. Fury hisses internally. His sister watches through the door, not daring to enter. The system appears again before his eyes, stamping identical restarting windows. Round 4 begins. Hands shake, but the sword still rises. Initial swings are reckless, but muscles gradually find familiar rhythm. Statistics confirm endurance grows by 1 unit after 8 hours of hard training. The status window displays Level 1, Strength 8, Agility 9, Endurance 8, Magic 14. One additional point supports smoldering hope for improvement. Canyon decides to allocate the free point to Strength, feeling warmth spreading through muscles. The blade seems slightly lighter. Steps become more stable momentarily. Breathing flows smoother. Two new characteristic points raise Kyun's confidence. Fatigue robbed accuracy. Goblins killed him again. The system restarted round 5, mixing endurance growth. In the round, he trained strength for 10 consecutive hours. Initial goblins fell easily, but remaining numbers defeated him again. Loading window for round 7 appeared. Kan Hyun swung his sword until muscles burned. Endurance rose by units through willpower. His body gave out. The sword fell from his hands. The hero collapsed. The interface announced basic fencing creation. The skill improved stance and taught proper force distribution. Simple bandit techniques surpassed complete amateurism. Joy flashed like a spark in endless death's darkness. Burning eyes regarded green enemies with fresh battle thirst. The sword rises again, promising goblins swift resolution. Stage 2 contains only 5 goblins. 2 guard the fortress gates. 3 hide in the dark forest center. The first 2 serve as light skirmishers before the alarming thicket concealing the others. The final opponent stands apart, a genuine test of strength and skill. Kaney grips his shield, deflecting powerful axe strikes. His newfound skill slows reality around him. Goblin attacks become predictable. His form responds instinctively, though exhaustion throbs through his bloodstream. 4 defeated foes stain the battlefield crimson. The goblin lunges forward, extending reach with an unexpected axe swing. Kankin's blade flies from his grasp and embeds in earth. The weaponless fighter dodges desperately, his shield rings under each impact. The goblin snarls, savoring this extended chase and another's suffering. The beast increases tempo, attempting to drain the victim completely. Attacks become predictable patterns. Attack paths grow readable. Kaney sidesteps, conserving energy while awaiting his moment to strike back. Frustration from missed strikes spreads across the goblin's twisted features. Kylon snatches a rock from dirt. His gaze burns with hopelessness and fury. In one swift motion, he strikes the goblin's limb. Contact. The creature shrieks in agony, hopping on its remaining leg. Its expression contorts. Moisture streams down the enemy's filthy cheeks. It has been weakened. Caillou roars with wrath, swinging repeatedly and crushing the opponent's skull. Crimson spatters. The goblin collapses. The form spasms violently. He towers over the fallen beast. His breathing comes in gasps. His vision blazes. A notification window appears. The phase concludes. Rewards granted. 5 additional statistics points. New abilities activated. Shield mastery. Crossbow expertise. Weapon selection expanded. Advancement achieved. Kahun chuckles, fists tightened. His expression twists with victory. Now he stands taller. He possesses greater strength. He survives. Kayun burst into laughter, shattering morning quiet in the real world. He relished this instant, musing, "What an excellent start to today." He is Kahun. He senses strength. Following the second phase, he chose to make breakfast celebrating triumph, brimming with satisfaction and expectations. Yet abruptly, he expelled his meal. His sister rushed in, startled and angered by his declaration. Messages flashed for both, announcing Earth training completion. System access now permitted freely. Alerts were utilized. Massive portals materialized on streets. The initial dungeon entrances. Crowds assembled, observing these imposing gates. They marveled at the magnitude. Portals emerged not only here but globally, a worldwide menace. The mission requires dungeon completion within allotted time. Otherwise, consequences remain unknown. The countdown displayed -4 years, 357 days, 13 hours, 59 minutes, 51 seconds. Following dungeon manifestation, the world grew far more turbulent and erratic. Initially, they chose to remain indoors, analyzing circumstances and gathering intelligence. It became apparent training remained incomplete despite previous phases. Not only beginners now participate in trials, minimum age 17 years. Comment sections display complete disorder regarding dungeons and related developments. His sister observed people expressing displeasure with haste and labeling previous training awakening. Kahun noticed many could activate status displays. He attempted opening his status window, but the system responded that access required training completion. Kahun understood 6 phases remained after the second, and many had already conquered them. Kahun desperately sought alternatives beyond completing all phases. He asked his sister whether any information existed about the third stage. Her response proved discouraging. Almost no data available. Even second stage details remained scarce. Kahun questioned whether entering combat again was worthwhile, but recognized no alternatives existed. He sensed increased power and would no longer accept failure. He resolved to approach the third stage with certainty and precision. Night arrived and third training phase commenced. The beast relieves itself directly upon him, and he burns with fury. Every fiber screams, "Eliminate, obliterate the cursed creature. It shall pay for all." His pulse accelerates, adrenaline peaks. He stands ready to battle until his final moment. In this conflict, fear and uncertainty have no place, only resolve and hunger for triumph. Canyon positioned himself within a misty woodland where the third test phase initiated. Text flashed on his display. Third stage commences. Demonstrate persistence. Victory requires eliminating the Gurkov commander. Surrender equals death. System guidance remained vague. Extended waiting would create opportunities. He examined himself. The camouflage outfit appeared absurd, resembling spy movie mockery. Yet the primary objective remained eliminating the unknown Gurkov leader. Initially, he determined locating this commander was necessary. First, though, examining second stage results, which lacked time for consideration previously. Status display showed Kun level 2.4, strength 10, agility 10, stamina 11, magical force 14. Extra statistics. Available skills: swordplay, shield work, crossbow use, unique talent, resurrection. He observed with satisfaction. This resembled a genuine awakened person's status. Basic crossbow mastery, enhanced weapon handling, and shooting precision, though descriptions mocked cowardly tactics. Basic shield expertise enabled more effective protection, accompanied by sarcastic comments about defending neighborhood children from mockery. Both descriptions provoked annoyance. He allocated bonus points, 4 to strength, 2 to stamina, 1 to agility. The choice proved practical and deliberate. His body felt slight heaviness, characteristic growth consequences. The system suggested checking inventory. Inside rested a weathered longsword. Despite appearances, the weapon seemed dependable. Kenyon evaluated its weight and balance, pleased with quality. Preparations concluded, all statistics considered, abilities verified, equipment assembled. Only finding the target remained. The mysterious Goth leader. The forest ahead appeared dark and thick. Air felt humid and ominous. Time to advance. Ken Hyun remembered Carlos Hathcock's name, Sniper Legends. His exploits inspired crawling 1.4 kilometers over several days to eliminate targets. This individual became a symbol of persistence and composure. Now Kan Yun sensed identical earth beneath his form, identical moisture, identical silence before firing. For 10 hours he advanced slowly. Each centimeter required tremendous effort. Muscles ached, clothing adhered to flesh. He nearly arrived. Very little distance remained. 2 sentries stood at their position ahead, motionless like sculptures. Thoughts of frontal assault occurred. Too dangerous. Battlefields punish mistakes. His trousers dampened from involuntary urination. His body surrendered, yielding to fear and prolonged stress. Sharp grass scratched skin through fabric, and insects crept beneath cloth as though earth itself attempted stopping him. Suddenly, a creature rose before him. Yellow liquid flowed onto him. He ground his teeth. This tested persistence and patience. He reminded himself repeatedly, like an incantation. Yet the monster urinated directly upon him. His limit was exceeded. Something in consciousness snapped. Not a thread, but entire rope. He broke, leaped up, and charged the monster. The blade penetrated flesh. The being fell. Khun exhaled, empty rage but useful outcome. Yet everything was not finished. A second monster already faced him. Strange sounds mixed with night atmosphere. Torches ignited. The entire settlement rose in alarm. Silhouettes rushed toward him from every direction. He was encircled. A click resonated in his mind. Since everything went to ruin, time had come to speak words he always desired. He yelled them at the approaching horde's face. "Come then, attack me, accursed monsters!" Then the system recorded the lion's roar of rage skill creation. Anger's wave tore through air. Monsters froze, their statistics crumbled. Body fragments soared skyward, scattered by one burst of insane determination. Stage 3, Round 2 initiated. Lion-like pressure crushes enemy statistics and morale, removes debuffs, instills terror, eliminates all effects. Canyon extracted lessons from 1,000 combat hours and established the primary principle. Strike the commander while the village maintains minimal guards. During daylight, Gurk fighters depart hunting, returning at dusk. In midday quiet, only weaklings remained. Kan Hyun glides toward tents. The chief's tent stands centrally. The throne glows from torch heat. Two shamans position themselves at sides. Within, a magical trap binds uninvited guests' bodies. Low-rank seals constrain muscles. Breathing grows labored. Panic transforms into lion rage roar memory. Soul power impulse shatters bonds. Torches extinguish. Shamans grasp amulets, but too late. The roar echoes through the yurt. Enemy strength collapses. Ken Hyun lunges forward. The sword traces silver arc. Steel pierces the leader's chest. He tumbles from throne. Shamans crumble to dust from horror's wave. The interface blazes with victorious illumination. Stage completed. Intermediate body regeneration flows as heated wave. System records, new completion speed achievement. Temporary title unshakable. Bonus to all statistics. Kenyon experienced triumph. He conquered the third stage in merely 2 days, unlike the second phase requiring an entire week. This seemed beyond simple progress. It was a leap, indication of something greater. He began seriously considering whether he truly was gifted. After all, maintaining such pace meant the fourth stage would pass within minutes. In imagination, Kanyun already battled dragons, avoiding fire streams and delivering fatal strikes, like ancient epic heroes. Yet reality, as always, intruded uninvited. Nearly a month elapsed. Screen News reported current affairs. 25 days since awakened squad deployment for dungeon clearing began, 40% of territories cleared. Meanwhile, government already discussed introducing participant bonuses. People adapted to new reality. Dungeons, monsters, systems, everything became daily life components. In the kitchen, Kan-hen's sister fried eggs while background news played. Ken-hyun still persisted. Morning screams became routine. She snorted without looking from the pan. He seemed like a backstabbing arrow, yet only boasted about destroying everyone. She told him simply to eat, reminding him that morning screams would certainly prompt neighbor complaints. Canyon snapped, but then quieted. His sister looked at him and suddenly paused. Something had changed. In his gaze, movements, speech patterns, he had become different. Kan-hen admitted training strained his nerves. His sister noticed his expression resembled a criminal's face. Kun warned about watching expressions. He remained an older brother. He analyzed the following assignment. The fourth stage differed completely from previous ones. It was team testing. The group he joined consisted of participants following individual scripts and judgments. Each possessed their role, weaknesses, and principles. The assignment required destroying dungeon cores while keeping everyone alive until completion. Failure meant death. Initially, circumstances seemed straightforward. Kaney easily assumed leadership. He employed combat abilities, motivated allies, shielded them on front lines. Attention focused not only on his actions but confidence with which he operated. However, soon it became clear not all group members accepted his decisions. Some argued, suggested retreat, questioned his strategy. Despite tension and supply shortages, the group continued forward. Hyun felt mounting pressure since he now answered for others beyond himself. Each step demanded caution, each command required confidence. He understood power existed not only in strikes and abilities, but in maintaining group unity despite doubts and fear. Hyun sensed approaching a new level, not merely surviving, but one who guides others. Intermediate body regeneration obtained after the third stage proved a crucial skill. It enabled even severe wounds to heal, including amputations, restoring damage through magical energy. Bones could mend in just one day, a genuine miracle for fighters in such conditions. However, despite this power, fourth stage completion extended for a month. Problems started the first night when allies were expected to take guard shifts, but instead they ambushed him. Khan was caught off guard and killed. It was deliberate betrayal, response to his arrogance in sacred dungeons. His sister warned him to swallow food before speaking. After revival and recovery, he realized repeating situations with identical characters prevented progress. Yet under extreme conditions, those thinking unconventionally survive. Through intelligence and determination, Kanye discovered methods to eliminate all troublesome enemies without hesitation and continue advancing. This was the sole path to victory and stage completion. The fourth stage neared conclusion. People existed in suspense and uncertainty. Too little food, risk of remaining without provisions, fear of not locating dungeon cores. Doubts and fears multiplied. Arguments and threatening shouts. Recklessness accusations sounded. Yet Canyon accepted responsibility. He firmly declared everyone must obey his commands. Resistance meant death, complaints likewise. He utilized his skill. Everyone covered ears and focused on him. His determination and firmness proved so unexpected and commanding that he even struck one person to halt rebellion. People, despite confusion, understood following him was necessary since he knew the path. Kanyun's internal authority left no alternatives. Disobedience meant doom. Kanyun possessed the unshakable title, reached 14th level with high strength, stamina, and magic indicators. His unique talents, resurrection, sword mastery, basic shield and crossbow techniques, rage roar ability, and intermediate body regeneration provided significant advantages. He was a leader prepared to accept responsibility even under cruelest conditions. Kenyon confronted the final skeleton swinging its sword toward him. Quickly seizing the enemy's weapon, he struck the skeleton's skull with the handle and it scattered to fragments. This was the last threat. All skeletons were eliminated. Surrounding people stood stunned. Among them remained only defeated bones. Canyons observed the dungeon nucleus and understood what was now required, simply destroying the dungeon's power source. Delivering a strike, he completed the assignment. The system congratulated him on successful fourth stage completion and granted rewards. New level, enhanced statistics, and unique abilities. Among rewards was the skill One Strike Two Halves, enabling enemy body division into parts while ignoring partial defense, plus magical accessory Ring of Strong Mind. Kenyon continued collecting magic stones dropped by monsters. Though some purposes remained unknown, he understood eventually all these items could prove useful. Thanks to received abilities and objects, his strength grew with new trials ahead. The Strong Mind Ring possessed 100 out of 100 strength and was issued by Hendley Empire Imperial Guards. Despite being standard model, it featured outstanding characteristics since only elite knights received them. Ring abilities included immunity to all mental magic effects and rank a mental control status, and lower, plus visible-invisible function, making it valuable artifact. He noted his recent accomplishments were impressive. He performed 300 consecutive push-ups, demonstrating serious physical advancement. In reality, training became increasingly ineffective, and he considered gym visits for variety. Suddenly, mobile phone rang. Emergency notification from National Security Ministry. In 20th Dong area, dungeon gates opened, and residents were advised staying home and remaining vigilant. Screams and destruction sounds came from streets. Goblins attacked, shattered windows, and killed people, causing inhabitant panic. Dungeon gates required protection within limited time, otherwise they would remain open. Kenyon thought perhaps today he would even apply for dungeon clearing. He planned working with his sister. Protecting Kanachin was necessary. He urgently needed locating weapons, something suitable for combat. Kenyon desperately searched for weapons, but this location lacked even ordinary longswords. Finally, he grabbed a kitchen knife lying nearby. Running into streets, clouds drifted across sky. As though nothing occurred, he fled with maximum effort. He felt long-awaited battle tension. Before him stood numerous goblins. Their sounds resembled carrick, and though he could not fully utilize skills, this attracted monster attention. Goblins rushed, attacking him, but Khan carefully studied their movements, attempting to assess threat levels. Knowing one cannot completely depend on training experience, enemies could be stronger. He moved into counter-offensive using kitchen knife, spectacularly handling goblins, slicing them to pieces. Consequently, he realized even such simple knives could be employed beneficially. The multi-story office building was engulfed by panic. People barricaded doors, attempting protection from increasing outside noise. Fear reigned everywhere. In one office, his sister answered phone correspondence. Kanhen greeted her and inquired whether she was working. With each moment, sounds became louder and more sinister. Suddenly, they began breaking through doors. The man who proved to be Ken Hyun, her older brother, calmly entered the office. He admitted not wanting to damage anything. Then he shouted his sister's name, Kan Ayun, to whom he came for rescue, saving her from danger. Kan Hyun burst into office wielding knife and declaring he came for rescue. People confusedly asked about him and his relationship with Kana Hun, not understanding his identity or current events. One man expressed dissatisfaction about broken barricades and uncertainty about next actions. Panic grew due to approaching monsters. Kan Hun apologized for uncontrolled power, but soon reassured everyone. He destroyed goblins alone. People amazed at his skill began supporting each other, hoping they could endure and defeat enemies. He urged avoiding panic and acting together. Realizing goblin numbers were growing and they could reach upper floors, Kan Hyun insisted maintaining vigilance and attempting some rest before upcoming battles. His sister carefully poured water on Kun's wounds, attempting water conservation since their supplies were limited. She reproached him for frequent injuries, and he explained this through lacking evasion abilities. Though withstanding most strikes proved beneficial, now deprived of skill usage, he felt vulnerable. His sister reminded he could not resurrect without skills and criticized his overly aggressive battle approach, though impressive yet dangerous. His sister shared that several elders wished meeting him and requested he improve his appearance. Conan considered meeting someone who might accept him as he was, with harsh words and mourning screams and all unpredictability. Suddenly, he noticed system window with task proving wisdom, reminding of 5 trials. At this moment, the girl jokingly nicknamed Succubus added light irony touches to company conversation. Canyon faced difficult circumstances requiring defeating Succubus disguised as human. Problem conditions were clear. If Succubus revealed true nature, those noticing would face danger and become initial victims. Succubi, dream demons, known for beauty and ability to drain vitality from sleeping people. In this scenario, succubus existence knowledge was well established. Kan Hyun listened to questions and discussions, realizing determining which present person could be succubus proved extremely difficult. All women seemed excessively beautiful and mysterious. He thought and involuntarily looked at one, sensing the strong mind ring could assist. This ring, issued by Hendley Empire Imperial Guardsmen, possessed high protection levels. It provided immunity to all rank mental effects and lower plus unique visible-invisible option. What transformed him into an essential instrument against such mystical dangers? Evening arrived and they dismantled camp structures. Kungan positioned himself beside flames and contemplated completed phases. First was the infernal spectacle. Second involved weekly goblin combat. Third required 10 hours of crawling, following which the creature soaked him with waste, and fourth became a month-long agonizing endeavor resembling hellish torment. Finally, he could permit himself respite and pursue more engaging activities beyond mere survival. He felt conflicted emotions, sorrow for having cursed destiny, and appreciation for preparation that provided essential abilities and knowledge. Nevertheless, he recognized one must not permit relaxation. Carefully controlling facial expressions was vital, since whoever exposed succubus identity would become targeted. Khan believed if succubus truly existed among them, this was likely a powerful entity capable of human disguise and magical mastery. Therefore, employing NPCS rather than attacking blindly proved wise, particularly important since men fell easier to succubus enchantments. Using women seemed more logical. Consequently, he chose postponing all inquiries for later and attempting sleep to better consider circumstances and prepare for approaching trials. Khan awakened and observed familiar ceiling details. This was Ayun's workspace. Nearby, people mentioned they planned rousing him and reporting army arrival. The notion crossed his mind that perhaps he died while dreaming since he awakened here. Surely she suspected his complete knowledge. He felt surprised upon hearing updates. Military forces appeared on streets with vehicles that eliminated goblins. Kana gazed through windows and confirmed military presence. Now it seemed possible to breathe with relief. Military weapons and equipment proved far more effective against these creatures. Conan looked outside, sensing this remained far from trouble's conclusion. He could not comprehend why such alarming danger awareness persisted. From streets came screaming and gunfire sounds. Military forces attempted suppressing goblins, yet their efforts seemed futile. Monster numbers continued increasing. One soldier complained about requiring specialists rather than ordinary fighters, especially before their leave. Suddenly, an enormous goblin materialized on battlefields, crimson and mighty. Military opened fire, yet bullets appeared, causing no harm. The monster advanced steadily, confidently dismissing attacks. Goblins suddenly leaped upon them, resulting in many soldiers dying instantly. Panic overwhelmed survivors, and Ken Hun observed events anxiously, attempting to understand next actions. At this instant, dialogue text appeared on screen. Hobgoblin, as though reminding that peril was just beginning. Military vehicles departed battlefields. Wounded soldiers remained confused. Injured personnel conversed, attempting to comprehend third unit fate and locate signalman who should request reinforcements. The captain, experiencing severe head pain, shouted loudly about Red Dog Division, expressing bewilderment at disaster magnitude. At that moment, Hobgoblin appeared, a fresh monster, formidable and menacing. Military awaited support, yet were informed only one civilian would arrive, causing shock and mistrust. The monster launched attacks, and despite gunshots, soldier weapons began malfunctioning at most inopportune moments. Then Kan Hyun suddenly materialized on battlefields. He seized a massive boulder and hurled it at the monster, which was knocked down and collapsed. Military personnel were astounded by his appearance and quickly aimed weapons at him, considering him threatening. Kaney requested they lower weapons and emphasized his humanity. Soldiers, still bewildered, recognized him as volunteer and requested forgiveness for suspicion. Kanyan explained, arriving not from justice sense, but necessity. At that instant, the goblin rose and prepared fresh attacks, clearly focusing on Kaney. He understood if military was destroyed, monsters would advance towards Sister's workplace. He insisted military avoid shooting him since bullets could injure him. Then Kaney inquired whether they possessed tear gas, to which soldiers replied almost all operational weapons were loaded and ready for deployment. Ken Hin calmly requested military deploy tear gas. Military previously recalled gas mask necessity. Kanhen only sternly warned against shooting him. Military reacted swiftly and prepared for combat, donning protective gear. His sister observed events and heard warnings to fire only at approaching monsters, avoiding Center Street shooting. When smoke from gas canisters filled space, the goblin experienced sharp eye pain and emitted piercing shrieks. Ken Hyun wasted no time and charged into attack, first disarming the monster, discarding its weapons, then striking. Military observing battle were amazed by Kyun's strength and stamina, and the soldier appearing from behind admitted Kaney was awakened and he was not alone in rescue efforts. Kenkin's blade touched earth. He completed the assault. This monster proved far more resilient than anticipated. All strikes missed targets without causing meaningful damage. Stamina gradually depleted, and Kenyon considered implant necessity for self-strengthening. His strength lay in cutting, yet now this proved insufficient. At this instant, the newly arrived assistant in gas mask quickly struck the goblin, causing sharp pain cries. The stranger evaluated monster power. This goblin was clearly awakened, dungeon boss rank. Despite strong monster defense, vulnerabilities remained. They discussed strategy. Physical strength was minimal and Khan's endurance at limits. Clearly precise attacks on vital areas were needed. While one restrained the goblin, Kanhan fled toward discarded monster weapon, attempting utilization. He conceived an idea. Eventually, weak area was selected. Skin behind joints. Kan delivered large-scale decisive strike. Everyone held breath, observing goblin reactions. Yet instead of expected weakness, unexpected pity swept Kan-hun followed. Kan-hyun struck the goblin directly in posterior, and unpleasant sensation flashed along axe handle. The question crossed his mind whether anus could be considered vital point. He doubted this blow would cause instant death, yet decision was made instantly, and body had already executed next movement. The goblin was sliced and collapsed groundward. Kan Hyan rushed attack further, still hoping not all flesh was equally invulnerable. He struck the goblin's mouth and blood splattered everywhere. The awakened, observing from distance, was amazed by Kan Hyun's skill and could not understand where such experience originated. This person was not registered in training systems. A golden marker appeared near the goblin. No item information existed. The object could not be examined due to ongoing training. The awakened attempted warning about proper item distribution. Yet Kune practically defeated the monster alone and was determined to depart. He provided a malodorous yet amazing axe and bid farewell, leaving the awakened perplexed. Removing the mask, he wondered, who is this mysterious individual? Several hours after victory, twilight descended upon street ruins. Surviving signs blinked with illumination. Circumstances seemed calming slightly. Brother and sister returned home via empty roads. Gary's scent lingered in air. The apartment stood wide open. It appeared terrible. Kanhen had not secured the door. His sister blamed herself for believing he had already matured. They began with cleaning, checking supplies, locating canned goods and noodles. Sitting at dinner, sister read news while watching smartphone screens. The phone flashed. Real goblin killer video gained views. Footage showed Kan Hyan with bloodied axe fighting hobgoblin. Comments divided audiences, hero or psychiatric patient. Ken Hen delighted in himself. Sister wearily scrolled through feeds, observed his villainous face on screen. Lights extinguished. Kaney went to bed. Muscles trembled with exhaustion. Consciousness tallied past phases. Recalled hobgoblin and mysterious gas mask associate. He established goals reaching 8th level and becoming strongest awakened. Closing eyes, beautiful succubus image and brief death appeared before him. Canyon awakened as though within dreams. A goblin suddenly materialized before him. He lacked time to comprehend how reflexively striking the creature's face. The goblin flew away, leaving only heavy breathing and silence. Damn nearly suffered heart attack crossed his thoughts. He surveyed surrounding space. Dialogue box appeared on screen. Conditions: evade cave goblin hordes, clear dungeon. Failure conditions: death. Hint: cave goblins possess poor vision, excellent hearing. Utilize this. Canyon fell silent abruptly. Fresh goblins emerged from shadows, dozens. He whispered to himself why warnings appeared only now. They encircled him. He frantically considered moving silently, distracting, devising something. Pulse pounded in temples. Why had learning scenes changed? He felt perplexed. He shouted from tension and echoes swept everywhere. He died again. Meanwhile, in another city corner, woman collapsed on asphalt. Someone struck her. The man in room beat everyone nearby. He possessed power, yet lacked restraint. People screamed, panicked. Why could someone who had not even completed training be stronger than awakened? What strength difference matters if you cannot use it? He responded. Ken Hun appeared on screen increasingly often. Commentators, analysts, random pedestrians. Everyone discussed him. He found this interesting. It seemed sufficient entertaining users remained, and one was not at all what initially appeared. Stage 5, Round 3 commenced. Goal involved revealing and eliminating doubles among survivors. The monster disguised itself as human during daylight and nightly devoured random victims. Failure meant entire group instant death and cycle restart. System Council paladins and mages possessed one-time daytime abilities. Ken Hyun recalled succubus hunting and decided applying mafia logic. He assembled people in circles, prohibited any movement, and awaited reactions. The stunned crowd froze. Tension thickened with evening shadows. Soon his own urgency turned against him. Suspicion voices changed targets. They selected exactly the one issuing loudest commands. Kan Hyun died, finding himself home at next awakening. He realized a month and a half consecutively repeated identical strategic failures. His head buzzed with sleeplessness. Victory required more cunning than brute force. Stomach ached from hunger. Food thoughts became final reality threads. Kenyon stood in new, obviously small clothing with protruding shoulders and ridiculously positioned glasses. He attempted changing appearance, hoping external modifications would affect internal ones. In hands, he held book with screaming title, Awaken His Brain, cover held upside down. His behavior caused mixture of surprise, irritation, and fatigue in Sister. Sister had just returned from work and encountered another eccentric brother experiment. She did not hide irritation. Observing him, she wondered why all these strange costumes, foolish speech, and cheap tricks were needed. Glasses, suit, book, everything resembled failed theatrical performance. Her indignation intensified when realizing money was spent on this that could address necessary items. Food, rent, basic needs. Meanwhile, fifth stage began again. Essence remained unchanged. Wisdom sufficient to overcome any obstacles required proving. Canyon stood in cave full of dusk and echoes. Another dialogue box appeared before eyes. Tasks seemed mocking. Complete dungeon cleaning where G-rank creatures hid was required. Incubator, and most dangerous among them was Spitting Tarantula. This monster's level was 20th, and could only be defeated through exact weakness knowledge and verified strategy. Cave was illuminated by torches whose flames trembled with air movements. Somewhere in darkness, grinding sounds were heard. Kam Hyong knew he had only one chance understanding where creature vulnerabilities lay and choosing correct paths. It seemed tasks sounded overly simple, cleaning dungeons. Kanhan even grinned. How could conditions be so straightforward? He advanced without hesitation, confident he finally discovered solution that would not occur even to Aristotle. He struck without fear, without analysis, with one thought to break through by force. Yet when spitting tarantula, dropped on him with saliva, he realized underestimating enemies. His hands began burning. This was poison. Too strong creature, yet retreating was not his style. Despite pain, Kanhin jumped beneath Spider's belly. Memory hint flashed. Incubator weaknesses. Irrelevant. He gripped weapons and, investing all rage, cut monster from below in half. Logic suggested strategies were all good, yet sometimes most direct paths were only functional ones. He decided not seeking door keys, but simply breaking them open. Notifications surfaced before eyes. Congratulations, you passed 5th stage. Giant strength ward. Konhen triumphed. Thoughts sounded in head. Mind belongs to those with weak bodies. Giant strength was magical ability enhancing muscles. Increased force by 12 units over 10 minutes. Current status name can title Unshakable level 25. Strength 20.1. Agility 19.1. Endurance 19.1. Magic 19.1. Additional points 0 unique ability. Resurrection. Combat skills. Sword mastery. Basic shield technique. Crossbow. Lion's rage skill. Intermediate physical regeneration. 1 blow. 2.5. Giant strength. 5th stage was behind, yet anticipation of next battle already burned in Kanhen's eyes. Real-world mourning. Strength breakdown from training lingered in air. Conversation about birthday and fatigue sounds after 1st stage completion. 1st stage proved as difficult as rumors warned. Further advice nearly absent. Starting from 5th test. It is believed 4th line opens pathway to upper percentage of elite. Hidden stage information causes speculation and rumor waves. Networks discussed someone already passed 7th and approached 8th. 4th test theme associated with leadership through force. 5th stage associated with wisdom but interpreted as muscles. 6th test called villain. Destroy everything around. 7th associated with devotion where only enemies battle. Commentators laughed and disbelieved any leaks. Kanhen was angry, shared strategies, and was dismissed as troll. Sister reproached. He was 4 months against instant geniuses. An abyss. He raved. He completed 6th and 7th levels in single attempts. Twilight thickened. House filled with intense silence. System activated. Training recognized 7th test completion. Invitation to final 8th stage flashed on screen. 6th stage reward was Belgan's longsword. This weapon belonged to mercenary with 30 years battle experience. Initially, sword was merely good, yet absorbing Belgan's enemy blood, he was saturated with ominous aura. Sword possessed berserk ability, which increased owner's strength. 7th stage reward was Ronald's armor, belonging to Alley Kingdom Wandering Knight. This armor was endowed with self-healing function that automatically repaired damaged areas after multiple damage. Kanhen thought if successfully passing 8th stage, he could use weapons and armor in real world through inventory. He also planned checking item dropped by hobgoblin. Welcome to training, system sounded, confirming 7th stage completion. Though Kanhen did not expect completing final stage on 1st attempt, he hoped this would not require more than 1 week. System question. What are your beliefs? Surprised him, forcing consideration. Suddenly, ceiling began cracking and space beneath feet began disintegrating. Floor was destroyed and Kanhen screamed into abyss, covered by panic. He awakened in reality and looked carefully. He was at pedestrian crossing where traffic light burned behind. Suddenly, girl crashed into him who seemed just passing through him. This caused surprise. Was he really in formless state? He first observed city as though in training. Yet people around were not people. Their faces resembled goblins, though they appeared, dressed, and behaved like ordinary individuals. Kenyan carefully studied nearest monster and met its gaze. It looked at him with madness, yet perhaps not at him. Dragon and some other terrible monster suddenly appeared behind. Caney turned around and saw half-boom-pawed goblins charging at him, who immediately fled, and behind them many creatures both familiar and unknown. This was something completely different in level than what he experienced in dungeons couple months ago. Scene resembled apocalypse. Message flashed in screen corner. Time remaining until complete Hawka dimensional connection was 4 years 278 days. This is how Earth will appear in 5 years. He stood in street middle and watched surrounding events. Suddenly, someone huge appeared behind. Turning around, he saw a giant monster which towered above skyscrapers. Frightened, he screamed when Monster's massive leg began falling on him, and suddenly he vanished. He awakened in White Room, not understanding occurrences. What was also Monster? He felt as though just floating in air. Whether it was God or something else. Creature arose before him who answered he could consider him certain dimensional administrator. Administrator was surprised at Kun and said at this stage they would have personal conversation. He suggested not being shy and asking any questions, since this was valuable time for discovering something new. Kenyon considered what he observed. Does Earth really become like that in 5 years? Administrator replied, much depends on people's actions. When Kune expressed misunderstanding why Administrator, being great creature, would not stop this situation, he explained. He was only Administrator, not Guardian. His task was maintaining balance and status window and training were maximum he could offer. Then Administrator asked if he could pose question and Kuni agreed. Administrator began with question about what convictions guided Kun and for which he still lived. Caney admitted question was profound and was surprised why they asked. Administrator explained after observing people during this event, he became curious. All reasoning creatures are interesting, yet especially humans. Administrator complained this topic burdened him greatly, to which Caney replied perhaps he simply watched enough. Indeed, in his environment, no one considers such matters. They simply fight for small happiness and survive day after day. When Administrator asked if Kan Hyun had something he wanted protecting, he mentioned his rude younger sister and parents, his family. When asked if he ever considered becoming hero, Kenyon reacted skeptically. Considering being hero was overly complicated and exhausting task, and this needed natural talent he lacked. Administrator, in turn, admitted he was Kan Yun fan and pleased observing his training. Kenyon doubted whether Administrator was sadist given tests. Then he asked why at 5th stage, where main topic is wisdom, tasks change every time. Administrator thought and then said time had passed. He bid farewell to Kyun, expressing conversational pleasure. Kun confusedly observed the window materializing before him with inscription about 8th stage completion and new path commencement. He attempted speaking, but Administrator continued that fresh trials awaited ahead, and he believed Kan Yun would become hero saving the world. Kan Hun irritably tried objecting, accusing system of manipulation, especially regarding 5th stage. Suddenly, he vanished, dissolving in air, leaving only Administrator behind. He smiled, saying he anticipated continuation and noted Kan Yun became 62nd training graduate, receiving graduate title. Kanyon found himself in his room attempting to scream at Administrator, but discovered something in his mouth, a toe. Nearby stood Sister, who explained she anticipated his scream and sealed mouth beforehand to prevent noise. He reproached her for placing such objects in his mouth. She suggested he failed again, asking how much time completion would require. Kankin ironically summoned system window displaying acquired power and claimed becoming capable person. Sister approvingly wished him wealth and reminded about breakfast she prepared. He hinted deserving at least congratulations, receiving spoon in face. The sink sparkled with cleanliness, dishes removed, and Sister departed. Kyan remained alone, thinking, observing dialogue box. He analyzed resulting graduate title and its effects. All statistics increased +2, though effect was not too significant. He recalled titles should not combine except chosen ones, others utilized only half. With current characteristics level 28, strength 21 plus 2, agility 19 plus 2, he realized despite title much remained ahead. Ken Hyon applied graduate learning title. His name illuminated in system. Level 28, strength 21 with 2.5 increase, agility 19, endurance 20, magic 20. Additional statistics absent. Among skills were unique resurrection ability and intermediate sword mastery, shield and crossbow techniques, lion's rage skill, intermediate physical regeneration, and giant strength. One blow damage was 2.5. With smile and anticipation, Kenhen thought he awaited this moment long. Finally, he was prepared for new trials. Kanye opened box and observed mysterious book, reward for hobgoblin victory. Book title declared, Expand Your True Essence. Magic Explosion. This was skill book enabling mastery of magical sphere shots with explosive force, he exclaimed excitedly. After long training months, Kaney finally learned controlling screams using soundless mode. When System proposed studying skill, he agreed without hesitation. Book illuminated, confirming new skill receipt. Now with loot sorted, Konhun wondered whether applying to Awakened Learning School to develop abilities further. Early morning arrived, city already awakened. Anmon, recently appointed civil servant, first went working at Awakened Teaching School. This place where training completed, people received official certification. System became increasingly developed and recognized with effectiveness, largely explained by similar structure existing previously. Despite these beginners just starting paths, they were considered future defenders, making observation extremely important. Building contained lines. At some point, one registration service employee began crying. She spoke to young man who looked bewildered. Girl hid face behind paper and continued sobbing. This quickly attracted others' attention. Crowds began discussing whether he threatened her. Someone produced phone and activated camera. Guy himself appeared puzzled, attempting to explain he did nothing. Instructor, man named Kim, approached situation. He carefully examined occurrences, assessed circumstances, and noticed Guy standing before registration table. Inspector approached closer and peered into Kon Hyun's face. Recognition moment passed between them. Voice and facial features seemed familiar. However, young man's appearance clearly differed from document photograph. Ken Hyong immediately explained changes resulted from skill effects. If necessary, he was prepared, confirming identity through fingerprints or DNA analysis. Employee nodded but asked new question, whether he trained to 5th stage. Can Huan answered affirmatively, mentally noting he preferred not advertising real progress to avoid suspicion. Nevertheless, even indicated level proved too high. 12th, despite attempting hiding real power. Then illegal raid questions followed. Kon Hyun admitted before law implementation he entered dungeons several times. Inspector noted this and continued. He was interested in unique ability designated in system as male power. Ken Hyun explained it temporarily doubled physical strength. Thanking for answers, Inspector demanded evidence. He wanted seeing all stage rewards, 3rd skill, 4th artifact, and 5th skill. Ken Hyun grinned mentally. Meticulous official got caught. He extended hand and bit sharply. Blood flowed to floor, leaving marks. After seconds, skin stretched and wound completely disappeared. Self-healing skill demonstration. Then he showed ring that restrainedly shone with magical aura. 4th stage artifact, reason ring. When 5th stage reward arose, Kan Hyong hesitated slightly. This skill was much more powerful, and revealing it in crowds was not ideal. Kan Hun explained 5th stage ability was not ordinary skill, but his unique ability. He transformed giant power into skill-inspiring opponent fear through loud screaming. Given destructive potential, using it in crowded places was quite risky. Yet Inspector granted permission, and Kenyon began without hesitation. Crowds first stood calmly, not understanding expectations. One man recognized Kenyon, goblin killer, and his face distorted with surprise. Before he could speak, air shuddered with screams. Sound waves flashed through hall, causing unconscious horror. People panicked, grabbing heads, covering ears. Some instinctively retreated backward. Screaming was not merely loud. It resonated with something primitive in everyone's mind, inspiring animal fear. Inspector also covered ears, slightly swaying from pressure. When everything subsided, he barely nodded, barely catching breath, confirming sufficient demonstration. He directed Kan Yun toward path to second building, Hanmu building, second floor. Kan Hun advanced and Crowdman still watched him with empty, stupid expression. Previously, Kan Hyun nearly was refused due to appearing different than photograph in identity certificate. Yet when he drew attention using ability, circumstances changed. Nearby students quietly whispered. His loud cry at woman caused tears, and Kan-hun realized perhaps he was not to their liking. Despite this, he believed occurrences were not too important. Behind Kan-hyun at desk sat that crowd guy. Teacher introduced himself as Kim Neon, who would work in Awakened School Dreaming Branch. Students applauded. Training was planned 10 days, mornings theoretical classes and afternoons practical. Food and accommodation were provided on site. If no serious problems occurred, everyone could safely complete courses and obtain certificates. Teacher recalled less than 6 months passed since global world changes, and every day brought fresh dungeon and monster information. Tactics and strategies constantly changed, so current studies could not be considered absolute truth. He emphasized teaching only survival necessities, since knowledge could become obsolete or useless tomorrow. Over next 10 days, teacher enthusiastically promised students productive work. First lesson ended and everyone received 10-minute breaks. Students dispersed on business, and Kim, looking at ceiling, felt unbearable boredom. He compared lessons with reserve army psychological training. He was certain coming 10 days would be unbearable. Suddenly, muscular man approached and extended hand for introduction. His name was Guvak Suil. Kim Hyen was surprised, noticing powerful physique, and mentally described man as muscular pig. Nevertheless, he responded greeting and introduced himself as Kon Hyon, shaking hands with interlocutor. Javak Swil asked for care, though actually thought better placing such person from beginning. He was annoyed this guy from first minutes created commotion over small matters. However, Kim Hyun did not understand how this guy could behave so confidently at hand-to-hand gathering. Kanhen recalled unique ability, giant strength which enhanced muscles through magical energy, increasing force by 12 points over 10 minutes. To verify this, Kimin squeezed opponent's hand with full strength. Despite all investments in strength development, Big Man realized he was losing. Many students gathered around observing stressful confrontation. Kim Hyan could not retreat and appear weak, making muscles swell tensely. His hand literally exploded and blood sprayed others. This unexpected turn aroused student surprise and admiration for Guy, who constantly watched Kan-hen. Ambulance rushed to call while Kan-hen attempted explaining occurrences. He insisted muscular man came first, wanted meeting, yet suddenly hand burst, fact difficult believing. Kan-han noted thanks to unique giant power ability, which increases force 1.5 times, he escaped serious injuries. Without it, everything could have ended much worse. He listened doubtfully, mentioning hearing of male power ability, which doubles strength and does not increase 1.5 times. Kanhan did not argue, admitting he might confuse numbers. Consequently, Inspector advised returning to classroom, and Kanhen sighed relief sitting at desk. First day was very exhausting for him. At that moment, Guy, who previously watched him, approached and asked if sitting nearby was possible. Hyon agreed without much enthusiasm, mentally calling muscular man Pig and new interlocutor Freya. Ian introduced himself and Ken Hyan reciprocated. Jensen even asked whether contacting him as brother was possible. Jun said he was only 18, yet already completed studies thanks to rapid high school education. Guy requested contact without formalities. Judging by Canyon behavior, Eon suggested being very senior here and asked how achieving such results. Hyun explained muscular man's hand exploded by itself, and this was due to incredible skill. In thoughts, he called Yun freak. He repeated situation was not entirely clear, and muscular pig's hand literally exploded. At this moment, teacher entered classroom and announced second lesson beginning. Due to delay, time would be devoted to main aspects. Teacher began explaining dungeons were divided into two types, ordinary and incomplete. He continued explaining dungeon classification. Conventional dungeons were most common, usually opening 4 weeks after appearance. Discovery meant moment when monsters begin leaving dungeons. Incomplete dungeons differed in unpredictable opening times. It could happen earlier or later than 4 weeks, so always remaining alert was necessary. Preventing dungeon opening had two methods: stripping central nucleus or periodic ordinary nucleus removal to postpone opening. Yet, careful observation of nucleus attack order was necessary. Skeptical voice arose at home. Someone expressed dissatisfaction, asking if something else important existed for fighting monsters. Canyon noted such pitching was real problem. Teacher warned problem creation would be exceptional, but stopped guard. Pitching not wanting obedience caused conflict, expressing pride and challenge. Teacher calmly looking at phone proposed test. He would dodge and block pitching attacks for 1 minute. If roll could at least touch him, then course would proceed. If not, exclusion would follow. Kanyun and Yusen carefully watched occurrences. Second pitch was irritated by impedance, yet situation looked funny, so both could not look away. Instructor hit timer for 1 minute. Pitching pulling sword from inventory with challenge asked who they were taking it for. Guard was surprised, noting he had real sword, yet teacher was confident in abilities and straightened glasses. Pitching full of anger shouted about battle beginning and went on attack. However, teacher cleverly retreated and stroke rushed forward, losing balance. Teacher noted warning attacks are meaningless and surprise is real attack basis. Pitch was irritated by failure and anger that situation turned against him. Pitching continued striking more and more annoyed from mistakes. Teacher explained large preparatory attack movements are mistakes because enemies will not wait until you strike. He emphasized importance of observing and understanding enemy movements so as not to miss counterattack moments. Pitching blushing with anger and failures rushed, attacking with strong blow, yet teacher easily dodged. Explaining attacks with all strength create large movements in vulnerable places. Teacher noticed this approach quickly tires fighters. Now instructor inflicted only 1 blow with foot. Consequently, pitch sword flew from hand and pierced wall. Timer on teacher's phone showed time departing. All audience students were surprised. Conhen carefully monitored occurrences. He previously observed such videos where professional boxer dodges ordinary person's blows. Yet being able to do it against capable person, is there really such difference even among awakened ones? Speed and reaction speed he just demonstrated, even raising indicators to him, would be difficult tracking him. Kanhen looked at Soyan. He looked like crazy person. He thought it was worthwhile. Let him sit nearby. Awakened preparation school training plan included morning theoretical classes and afternoon practical training. Today's practice was devoted to weapon ownership technology development. Teacher explained weapons needed taking in turn. At first, everyone trains independently, and instructor assistants take turns correcting mistakes. Due to staff shortage, individual classes were impossible. Kim took sword and Jun offered practicing together, noting skill development seemed boring. Kon Hyun agreed, yet teacher recalled sparring was prohibited until 6th training day, which upset Kun. All students trained sword strikes in air, and Kanin watched them. He did not expect much, yet was surprised how much everyone's level was lower than thought. Practice seemed superfluous to him, better immediately working out real strikes. Taking sword in hands, he began independently working out movements. Teacher Kim noticed this and carefully watched Kan Hun's blows. Assistant teacher made remarks. He advised moving legs slightly and changing sword inclination angle in rack. He noted Kane Hyuna's manner looked too spectacular, yet in real battles, such tricks could be useless. Kan Hyong was indignant. He believed it was in dungeons. In real battles, sword ownership skills are very important. In emotional fit, he grabbed Assistant by scruff and offered testing strength in duel. Assistant reluctantly agreed, deciding to tolerate so as not to complicate life. Suddenly, teacher's voice interrupted training. Assistant Instructor Kim asked for word for minute. Instructor, clapping hands, turned to everyone. Demonstration sparring began between Kan Hun and Kimon Ham. All glances rushed at them. Assistant Instructor had to follow instructions justly, and Kan Hyun would continue waving sword as usual. They were permitted conducting only one blow exchange. Assistant was surprised, yet Kaney was ready. Teacher gave team, and two fighters rushed toward each other. Ken Yun, confidently holding sword in hands, attacked Instructor Assistant. Their blades collided in swift duel. Suddenly, Assistant's sword slipped from hands and pierced ground. Assistant was on ground, and Canyon stood above him, looking down from above. All present watched this scene with surprise and tension. Teacher emphasized training skills aimed at real battle preparation. He noted most important was ability responding to attacks timely and not blindly following studied techniques. This moment Ken Hun demonstrated through action. After that, teacher invited everyone to applaud participants for impressive demonstration. Kan Hun remained confused, observing others' reactions. Teacher helped Assistant Kim Seong-ha arise and apologized for taking unfavorable role. Assistant gratefully admitted receiving valuable experience, albeit unexpectedly. Kenyon, in conversation with Jun, attempted comprehending what he observed, while teacher carefully followed them. He reflected on sparring goals. He just wanted checking something. Assistant remained at loss from occurrences. My expensive training diary, Kin Hun wrote. First day began with conflict. One pumped guy decided asserting himself, yet quickly received lesson. Guy named Yansen behaves friendly, yet seems slightly crazy. Theoretical classes were boring, but almost not very useful. Second day morning, again theoretical lesson already about tactics. After lunch, they continued weapon training. Yusen seems very excited. I better stay from him at distance. Third day, Jun continues playing annoying companion role. He answers questions about own experience evasively, creating feeling he hides more than says. Fourth day, mood worsened. Same repetition causes depression. Rules, restrictions, instructions. All this begins crushing. There is feeling they are not taught surviving here, but accustomed to obeying. Fifth day, physical and mental exhaustion felt more and more. Most time I just wanted closing eyes and disappearing. Body itself sank to floor. Sword fell from hands. Only answer was silent, staying in state, meditation or indifference. Sixth day, everything repeated. Every day merges with previous one. Hope fades for changes. Kan Hyun was sitting next to Junzan. He, without hiding irritation, said it would be nice if he arranged some trouble. Though before that he said they should behave well to calmly finish courses. According to him, if Yusen is expelled, this will not be his problem. In response, Jun calmly remarked, Kenkin had striking talent, saying harsh things with such indifference as though this was simple fact statement. Jun's recalled today is 6th course day, so official sparring begins in afternoon. He added, having premonition. Something interesting would be ahead. Intuition, according to him, rarely fails. Day 6, afternoon training. Kanhen climbed platform. Talking quickly subsided in hall. By 6th day, everyone already knew Guy was capable of modest surprises. His rival was appointed strong young man with sword. Steel tip gleamed in lamplight. Kanhen also had sword. One soft movement and his sword blade lay down, blocking blow with amazing accuracy. The blade clicked, disarming the sword from hands. All this required less than 3 seconds. Teacher need not intervene. Guy collapsed to floor, acknowledging defeat. Kanhen triumphed. For seconds, silence again suspended in hall, then turn passed to next pair, and workshop noise returned. It seemed to Kanhen this was merely children's game. Level was not so elevated. Sparring continued until 8 a.m. Must these people continue engaging in this tedious nonsense? Two guys battled on stage. When attacking, blade halted millimeter from enemy eyes. Kim stopped duel. Kanhen believed he was skilled and would like fighting only with him. Esan was following. Kanhen hoped he would not create problems. He had bad feelings. Well, when instructor is there, nothing terrible should occur. This is true, Kanhen thought. Instructor announced Lee Yuri Mage would use personal weapons instead of training, and this was her advantage. Yunane did not mind, though he had sword before. Now he chose mace. Rules do not prohibit weapon changes. Instructor gave command to retreat, then counted to 3, and duel began between Jun and Yuri. Jun's enemy attacked magically, advancing with spear, and Jason blocked her with mace while smiling. Everyone in hall was shocked by magic, which was first seen live, including Kyun. Kaney thought magic could be studied depending on success and wondered about training. Girl inflicted another magical blow, but Junan created pink protective field around him. Junzan responded to Balava, and Kyun carefully followed battle progress and Jun's magic. Teacher watched Junzan, fearing girl's attack in violent radiance approaching him. Jun used magic trajectory, aiming at instructor. Suddenly, blood splashes spilled. Teacher was horrified and bloodied girl lay on floor. Jun raised hand, victorious, his entire face flooded with blood, and Kaney realized Ian was much crazier than thought. Ambulance arrived and took victim. She had open right hand fracture. Yun's only claimed this was mistake. Such cases are possible during sparring. Kim did not believe him. Kanhen recognized blade in Kim's hands. He already observed him. Sparring lasted another 2 days, despite incident with careful attitude towards Yunzon. Jun continued training, but teachers watched him with suspicion and caution. Victory penalties became noticeably larger, and Doctor was always ready in training. They said Doctor's salary was high enough, reflecting training seriousness. 8th day passed without serious incidents. Atmosphere was unusually calm and even. In Instructor Kim's office, Kan-hun suggested arranging real sword duel before graduation. Teacher grinned and advised Kan-hyun to calmly take course given load on him. 2 days remained. He also strictly forbade entering office without warning, emphasizing order importance. Kan-hun thought, looking at teacher, and expressed dissatisfaction with training boredom. He recalled already meeting teacher and suspected he was also tired of routine. Teacher was silent but recognized Kan-hyun and thanked for help in preventing earlier destruction. Teacher asked about cadet progress, mentioning 5th and 6th levels, and appreciated his sword. Kan-hyun justified finding sword during cleansing, to which teacher reacted skeptically. He removed sword from inventory and offered sparring, demonstrating intention, seriousness. At that moment, Kan-hyun was surprised, not expecting such proposal against previous conversation background. Battle began. Teacher appeared behind Kyun and attempted striking. Kaney noticed attack timely, turned around, and waved sword. Teacher noted Kan-hyun's dexterity, not just power. Kanyan said recovery skills allow, not fearing strong attacks. He began striking, demonstrating incredible physical strength. Sparring became more aggressive. Kanyan created gap in opponent's defense. Teacher wounded Kenyon on arm. He could not leave. Ken caught opponent's blade with bones. Teacher was surprised, and Kenyon said he caught him. Kanyon laughed. Teacher tried pulling out sword. Their views met. Suddenly, Kim fell to ground, and Kan-hun stood above him. Kim was thinking about his defeat. On table lay heating pad. Teacher was sitting next to Kan-yun, recognizing his strength. They drank beverages in friendly atmosphere. Kan-hyun said sparring was draw due to agreement not using skills. He proposed believing Kim won. Kim warned then Kan-hyun could be excluded for rule violations. Kan-hun objected passive skill cannot be controlled. Kim thought then Kan-hun and wished relaxation. Tomorrow was planned for dungeon studies. Near gate there was man in mantle. Gate was surrounded by barbed wire and warning signs. He stepped over barrier and became invisible, dissolving in air. Approaching gates, he pulled ring and went inside. Door behind him closed. There was nobody around him. No one noticed his actions. This place is school dungeon, rank F, called Gake Forest. Students stood before gates with instructor and assistants. Monster Gakes here are stronger than usual rank F dungeons. First choice reason is dungeon type filled with traps, but without other threats. Second one, monsters do not form packs. They can be lured individually. Details will be given inside, said Instructor Kim. Assistants began opening gate. This is his first real dungeon entrance, Kuni thought. Previously, he had not passed through such doors. He felt slight levitation feeling, and another world opened before eyes. Kan Yun examined dungeon, thinking whether this is really same place. He thought about portal through which they passed, considering it just door. It occurred to him perhaps if going back, it would be possible leaving dungeon, and recalled class explanation which said return was possible. Idea that he could be considered crazy caused irritation. He decided stopping dialogue and focusing on occurrences. Jun was perceived nearby as obsessive presence. He recalled Kanhen first spoke to him. Assistant was to be first luring Gake and conducting demonstration. After this, 5-person teams had to act independently. Each group had to lure and fight one monster separately. Gake is bird-type monster. Growth from head to toe 2 meters, similar to ostrich. Distinctive features are fast legs and strong beak. Attack can break through plate armor. Special caution is required. Strategy to surround it with several people and tie legs. Kim noticed systemic notification that Dungeon Central Core was deleted. Next, there was message that portal had opened outward. All participants surfaced warning dialogue box. It reported dungeon would soon collapse and everyone needs leaving it. Sky above Gake Forest cracked into sharp fragments. Air trembled. Kim urged everyone going to Portal 1 at time, forbidding tin and panic. Students lined up in chain while gates flickered with ghostly light. Amazement grew. Central Core was deleted. Why anxiety? What is happening at all? Almost everyone left gates. Outside, blue fire flew out, stitched by blood, red lightning. Kim realized dungeon breakthrough began and called support. Assistants evacuated interns. Breakthrough means core is destroyed without boss monster murder. Dungeon destruction will push remaining creatures through portal. Kenyon felt battle tension and prepared for unforeseen combat. Kim looked at portal. Bright light and smoke puffs break out of it. This is dungeon breakthrough. Ken Hyun approached Kim. Kim points to portal. Ken Hyun clenches fists. He understands this is not training. Kim counts on him. GIC monsters appear from fault. Their bodies writhe. Their eyes burn with bloodthirsty light. Kim unfolds to cadets and waves hand, calling them to build. Ken Hyun is alone. His breathing goes astray. He looks at monster hordes. Gakes rush forward. Kenyon abruptly breaks down and rushes toward. From behind Ken Yun, Juns with mace appears. He strikes first gate. Creature falls dead. Jun smiles. His eyes burn with fighting excitement. Ken Hun is shocked by occurrences. He notices how easily Yuno is fighting. Jun fights with excitement. His face shines like fight as holiday. It annoys Kanhan. Jun waves Bulava and shouts something funny. Kanhan gritted teeth and looks with annoyance. He thinks how much he hates occurrences, but he takes out sword and goes forward. Strange confidence sense appears near Yusen. Crazy nearby is already not bad. Cannon waving sword striking gates. He moves faster. He warns Jansen. He nods and covers ears. Kanhen activates skill. Lionites fill air. Gakes hurt. Sound presses on mind. Kanhen screams, calling monsters to be curling-headed. Echo diverges through dungeon. Enemy morale falls. Their movements become lethargic. Kim notices strange. Monsters are weakening as if they had spell on them. He looks around, trying understanding where effect came from. Cadets whisper. Someone calls name Kanhen. Everyone looks at him. Kim guesses this is mass debuff. He is amazed. He first sees Cadet using something similar. He believes help is already close and can do without sacrifice. But Kihen has different thought in head. He thinks about magic explosion skill that does not belong to others. He can use it as if personal. Rest are not. John looks with enthusiasm and asks something. Ken responds briefly. He calls it secret. Face remains serious. Kanhan notices something in sand. His gaze clings to huge traces. He calls Jansen. He turns and both look at one point. Paw appears from sand, huge with claws like blades. Mutant gate comes out of portal. It is 2 times higher than usual. This is boss. Monster growls. Sand trembles. Breathing becomes harder. Kim sees him from afar. Face frowns. There is no reinforcement yet. He assesses situation. Boss went out too early. Jun's son stands squeezing sword. His heart beats quickly. He sees such monster for first time. Jun is silent for a moment. Then his face is illuminated by wild smile. He points to Boss and takes step forward. He wants fighting. Kanhen protests. He also wants fighting. Both are charged to battle. Their blood boils. Boss is approaching. Tomorrow is diploma presentation ceremony. Academy is preparing for event today. During dungeon training, incident occurred. Kim confirms someone penetrated inside. It was no accident. Suspicion falls on series of dungeon attacks since last month. Girl thought face is serious. She feels connection between events. She asked if one cadet stood out. Kim answers. There were 2. They struck mutant boss Gake. Girl is surprised. She asks for details. Kim describes first monstrous power, speed, dexterity. It is reckless but almost invulnerable. Regeneration makes it adamant. Tactics are chaotic but dangerous for any enemy. Second is exact opposite. Cold, accurate, cruel. Battle genius with reflexes on impossible verge. But his cruelty is frightening flaw. Girl grins. Praise is not Kim's style. She is interested. Kim offered them job. Kim reminds instructor cannot sell students. Girl calls him stubborn. She smiles, but voice is hard. She is Dangun guild leader, Konayan. She asks him returning. Guild needs it. Kim agrees. He also feels something is wrong in this incident. Something is brewing. Tomorrow is release, but alarm does not disappear. Ceremony is completed. Graduates diverge. Director's last words sound solemn. Ken Hyan stands in hall looking around. He first sees this person. He always thought Panyan was school head. Only he knew him from leadership. Director leaves. Man in suit politely bows and invites him passing. Kan Hyun is surprised. He did not expect such luxury. Near exit is luxury car. Kan Hyun is lost. Jun calls him. He offers giving him home. Kan Hyun is stunned. He jokes being born with golden spoon. He first gets into such car. He feels not at ease. At that moment he hears voice from behind. Someone calls him by name. He turns around. Pion is suitable. Teacher corrects. His name, Kim. Ken Hun smiles. He thinks he came saying goodbye. Kim explains. This is not farewell, but formality. He mentions award for help in dungeon breakthrough. Ken Hun is in shock. He wanted hearing something more. At least one word of gratitude. He screams after, reproaching with coldness. But Kim stops. Teacher looks directly at him. His voice becomes serious. He recognizes Kan Hyun's power. He says they will meet again. Kim reminds being strong, not all. Responsibility is more important. Now Kan Hyun is awakened. His path is just beginning. Kan Hun returns home and tells sister about his potential. Sister answers without much enthusiasm, but sees prospect in brother. Kang Hyong decides taming arrogance and plans passing all dungeons tomorrow. He asks how finding entrance and recalls looking for map points. Sister mentions radar application for Awakened where they publish raid data. Ken Hun jokes about sister's genius and understands can just look on network. He used to spend time on game and sister notices. Because of this, he seemed stupid. Appendix contains dungeons, monster information, and group set announcements. He notices Gake Forest was then considered rank F dungeon. Kan Hyong is sure he will cope alone, but understands. Better assembling team. He dreams earning lots of money and pleasing mother with expensive gifts. On TV, reward is announced for rank F cleaning. They give 20 million won. They talk about magic stones as new energy source and expensive trophies. Best raiders receive huge monthly income, and this amazes Kune's father. Parents are discussing eldest son, who already sent 10 million won to family. Mother says he bought used car and now earns more than father. She is nevertheless disturbed by dungeon injury and death rumors. Father considers such risk better than unemployment and believes in son's prudence. He recalls before diving need assembling proven team. Family agrees. Yun has been distinguished by mind since childhood and will not act thoughtlessly. In cave depths, blows rattle. Kung destroys flushing tarantulas with quick chopping blows. His laughter is given echo. Battle itself seems lightweight to him. Spider bodies fall in pieces. Poison hisses on stones. Outside nearby stands his Bentley. Brilliant body reflects dim lantern light. Phone vibrates in back seat. Screen burns series of continuous challenges. At home, parents discuss son's silence and decide calling in morning. Mother goes washing dishes. Father asks getting out in room and not raising alarm for sure he is already sleeping. They recall strange gates that opened at supermarket in their area. They decide warning Hun later. State assistance expectation stretches endlessly. Meanwhile, goblins and orc warriors fall out of gate. Their growl is blocked by street noise. Massive boss, green leather and rough iron armor appear at detachment head. Dungeon's central core was removed, so portal opened right out. Kun completes raid in one day and goes to surface satisfied with rapid progress. He reflects on following purpose fluctuates between KV rank and caution. Idea of unknown resurrection rules in reality makes him slow down. He opens car, dreaming of dream and tomorrow's dinner with sister and beef. On screen 36, mist from Ion, heart compresses. He calls back, hears alarmed voice. News about parents and gates. Danger awareness throws him in face. Fingers tremble on Bentley steering wheel. He hurries to rescue. Urgent news is transmitted to all television channels. Government promises making every effort eliminating threat. Defense Ministry and United Abilities Forces conducting breakthrough zone. Citizens are evacuated, but people remain inside. Among them, Ken's parents. Isolated zone inhabitants are more and more amenable to panic. Dinane Guild officially announces rescue operation participation. Meanwhile, Kanhen is preparing. Sister looks at him with anxiety. She is not sure he is to cope alone. He answers with a smile. He went through preparation. Just wait at home. She does not believe in situation ease but cannot stop him. She warns him being careful, not heroic. She behaved restrained but restless. He tells her not to worry. He will retrieve their parents. Kanhan enters car, face concentrated. He rushes into breakthrough zone. Kankin's vehicle was halted at checkpoint. Military blocked road and signaled turning back. He presented ability user certificate. After brief meeting, he was permitted passage, warned they bore no responsibility for consequences. Canyon nodded and drove onward, leaving military personnel behind. He sped along road, surrounded by dense trees. Mental calculations flickered. Approximately 2 hours to destination remained. Hope existed that monsters would not emerge along route. Dungeons continued opening. E-rank situation caused particular concern. Boar suddenly burst from forest. Its eyes glowed crimson. It crashed into vehicle. Glass cracked. Body was damaged. Car overturned. Kan Hyun emerged. Blood flowed from forehead. He raised sword. Before him towered truck-sized boar. Yet danger intensified. Dust appeared distantly. Goblins approached. Many existed. They wielded sharp spears. Among them, large physique warriors stood out. Forces were unequal. No time remained. Ken Hyun assessed circumstances. Direct collision meant time loss and road was more important. He vanished among trees. Goblins attacked Boar. Fighting began. From forest shadows, Ken Hyun heard former enemy, now battled new foes. He did not intervene. Movement forward was necessary. Car loss mattered not. Family waited. Night arrives. Conhan navigates through dark forest, conserving phone charge. He regrets abbreviated route without lanterns and illuminated roadway. Behind, movement is sensed. Sword describes arc, and invisible wolf collapses to earth. Fresh invisible creatures appear. Their white silhouettes flicker between trees. Canahan slashes them without pause. Blood soaks earth nearby. Battle continues until dawn. Field is littered with dead wolves of his size. With first sun rays, Conan sits on branch. Exhaustion presses. Sleep provides no help. Uneven branch provides support, yet time runs out. He prepares for road. At home, mother reads son's final message about imminent arrival. Connection is unstable. Alarm grows. Near supermarket yesterday, orc monster from rank appeared. Parents doubt shelter safety. Father hopes for son's strength, yet doubt sharpens thoughts of new monster. Where did such terrible creature originate? Kenyon stands wounded in blood, yet with curved, weary grin on face. For him, orcs were merely obstacles to his parents. Unbearable anticipation. Now he is home. Khan proudly stands among fallen orcs. Bloodied sword gleams. Hoarse roar is heard behind. New warriors approach him. Tablets above their heads indicate boss rank. 3 leaders advance to forefront. Ken Hun understands mistake. This is not Festin rank, but much more dangerous rank. In-house, parents notice son through window and freeze from shock of his changes. Orcs rush forward. Saliva flows along fangs. Weapons sparkle. First orc blade slides past. Canyon's magical blow tears enemy flesh. Second enemy swings club, breaking hand bone. Yet Kanhen continues battle. Sword steel cuts off heads one after another. Blood stains grass underfoot. Last orc has skull split by magic explosion. Field becomes mortally silent. Pain in broken arm pulses rhythmically. New shadow swirls around. Entire orc army closes ring. In construction center, boss general rises. Canyon's muscles tense. Not time for healing. Need preserving strength to fight giant. Lion's rage roar shakes air. Enemy morale staggers momentarily. He lifts sword into combat stance, scattering exhaustion remnants. Orc general places fist on Kanhan's face. Blow is strong, yet does not knock down. Orc crowd pushes him back toward leader. Strikes. Game is painful and predatory. Kanhen falls. Magical regeneration depletes. Muscles no longer delay wounds. Forces run out, yet behind house and family retreat is impossible. He rises, gripping sword. Determination overlaps pain and bone cracking. General rushes forward with ominous fire in eyes. Fangs grin in anticipation. In-house, mother sees son in window. Father grabs pipe, preparing defense. Fresh orc wave crawls toward walls. Weapons shine in twilight. Cannon attempts breakthrough. Steel dissects flesh. Blood splashes fan-like. Several orcs fall. General's massive palm captures his shoulder and throws him face first into cracked asphalt. Skull rings, world floats, dust clogs lungs, yet consciousness clings to objective. Forces depart, pain responds with each breath. Family images flicker before eyes. Even lying in dust, he seeks ways to rise. Cannon loses consciousness, eyes close, body goes limp on broken asphalt. Suddenly, girl bursts onto battlefield. Guild leader, her blow knocks General Orc from feet. Raider team finishes remaining orcs, completing territory cleaning. Rescuers begin wounded resident evacuation, preparing transport for rest. Damage is enormous, yet due to orcs collecting in one place, destruction is less than nearby. Raiders find Kanhen realizing he alone restrained enemy before their arrival. One rescuer checks pulse and declares death. order to carefully prepare body. After moment, place where Kanhen lay is empty. Body disappears without trace. In shade, Kanhen opens eyes. His breathing is even. Kan Hyan awakens on same tree where he fell asleep. System reports resurrection after 24 hours. Ability returns life while Earth is in crisis. Penalty is -1 level, -50% forces per day. He recalls parent attack and orcs. Rage raises pulse and erases dream. Body seems leaden from penalty, yet he jumps from branch and rushes back without sparing himself. 5-hour run through pain ends in hometown turned to scorched ruins. Broken windows, distorted apartment, knife protruding from floor. Void presses stronger than wounds. At military base, he takes phone. Connection with Aishin brings news of parents' severe wounds. Father lost hand, mother in coma. Hope mixes with oppressive guilt. 2 months pass. Dangun Guild cleans rank dungeons on Hyge Plain. Leader Khan CI announces new S-rank dungeon. Threat gains strength. Sister worries. Canyon was dying 3 times weekly, yet he will not retreat. In training raid, team fights murals. Overall level grows rapidly. One cadet boasts achievements and plan joining Dangun to 35th level. He calls rest weak, yet notes his growth is common merit. Unknown swordsman quickly sweeps along corridor. Its speed affects group. Figure rushes straight to boss hall, ignoring risk and warnings. Detachment wavers, choosing between caution and need, following loner. Kaney was surrounded by Muraloff warriors, numerous creatures crawling along walls. At that moment, he activated Vane's secret skill, received day before. This skill increased all indicators except mana by 40%, depending on body condition. Wine was crazy warrior who lived for battle's sake and gained incredible power at cost of destroying own body. When Muralers came too close, Kenyon chopped them into pieces with one magic explosion. Group who came for him was shocked by his power. He went to Dungeon Core, raised it, and stated leaving, demanding they free his path. Despite group questions about collecting magic crystals from murdered monsters, Kan Hyun refused, focusing on desire becoming stronger. In conversation between group members, rumors of mysterious loner surfaced who recently cleaned dungeons, though they doubted someone could cleanse E-rank dungeon alone. Meanwhile, main core was destroyed and portal opened outward. Canyon, crouching on Muravir corpse, studied book Muravir's intercession, which gave skin-strengthening skill. He understood using wine secrets and regeneration simultaneously requires much mana, and thought skillful skill combination is correct path. Bill's sword, with length and strength 500 out of 500, always accompanied him in wanderings. Its special berserk ability gave increased strength 1.5 times, yet simultaneously deprived ability thinking sensibly. Consequences of this state were unpredictable. Regardless how powerful this ability was, it could not be used thoughtlessly. Kanye understood, despite rush, losing composure was impossible. Now regretting past mistakes was pointless. One goal existed before him at all costs becoming stronger. He was determined mastering berserk skill and learning controlling him to extract maximum benefits without dangerous consequences. People gathered near Open Gate, discussing latest news about mysterious loner who allegedly cleans dungeons. One man asked with interest whether it was not one noticed here today. Guy pointed finger, confirming it was really Kante leaving gate. At this moment, camera flash outbreak blinded his eyes. KST reporter introduced himself and asked, looking into camera, inviting Konhen joining their guild. Yet Kaney showed no interest and sharply demanded leaving, not interfering with him. Angry at journalist annoyance, he was not shy in words, and after threat, forced them retreating. Passers-by disgusted him, believing he could be convicted and dangerous person. Approaching his car, second Bentley Kaney unlocked her and thought irritably about reporters wasting his time vainly. Suddenly, man's voice sounded from behind who offered help and handed business card. It was Dream of Ian Ho from Ability Users Association, who had been watching Conan for some time. He explained association could get comprehensive support and did not require immediate answer. Man bowed and retired, leaving Conan alone with visitor in hands. In head, idea arose what this organization was, Ability Users Association, and whether worth contacting them. Ability Users Association is not at all ordinary organization. Unlike greedy guilds, it really protects awakened rights. Conan never heard them actively recruiting someone, so proposal contacting them any time seemed strange to him, yet curious. At that moment, he sat eating noodles, absorbing 5 servings at once. My biggest problem now is mana, he thought. Recently, he spent too much on secret techniques, military tactics, and regeneration. Almost nothing remained for attacking skills. Even Morava protection seemed luxury. Need finding good artifacts, he decided, and went to auction. Yet there was nothing sensible. There are only cheap things that would raise stats by merely 1 to 2 points. He needed powerful artifacts better than those he already possessed. Suddenly, he stumbled upon information about skillbook ring pickup and where obtainable. He learned in Goblin Village Dungeon in Kanam, rings increasing magical power from 1 to 4 points were obtainable. To get them, killing shamans or boss was required. Previously, only few people recruited by pharmaceutical parties knew place, yet recently some new guys appeared there and seized territory. Government paid no attention until monsters went outside. For them, it was just trifling problem. Caney understood if wanting survival and becoming stronger, he would have to do something with it. Site is full of comments about guild monopolizing Goblin Village and eliminating strangers. Cannot see guards at gate, opens portal, and step with shag enters wooded location. 2 men and girl are sitting in clearing. They evaluate guest's equipment and decide robbing him. First attacker soars into air, falls unconscious. Foam bubbles at lips. Kung Hyun cuts enemy's sword with bare palm and delivers 1 blow to second striker. Girl attempts hitting back, yet magic explosion discards it. Hand bleeds profusely. Screams echoed between trees. Battle turns into brutal power demonstration. Canyon remains calm, uses skills as though teaching enemies their own tricks. 7 more remain on trail, faces full of rage, steel sparkles in partial shade. They promise offender will not leave alive. Threat ring shrinks around Kun. Tension thickens before new fight. 7 advanced, threatening with swords. Their faces were distorted by anger. Yet Caney only grinned as though all was nothing more than joke. He slowly turned around, looked around them with cold, insightful gaze. He just needed guide. Training turned his life upside down. World of strength, cruelty, and money opened before him. Once he was considered discharge, now he headed large guild like Tiger receiving wings. In dungeons, he felt invincible. Enemy group leader approached him with threat, yet counterattack was instant. Ken Hyun's fist met enemy's face. Body collapsed. Silence shook earth. He looked around. Whole group was already lying unconscious. Leader did not believe how unarmed enemy laid everyone in second. Canyon removed bloody dagger. Ice was scared in his gaze. He ordered enemies lined up as though at interview for guide role, evaluating them as candidates. Authority. Blood flashed on steel. Tension thickened. Selection began. Kenyon ends improvised captive selection in clearing. Wounded raider group is on knees, clothing saturated with blood and dirt. He announces only suitable Kim Sona from Bait Guild. Rest clap with trembling palms, attempting guessing his intentions. Kenyon does not believe their repentance. Easy for them hiding future deception. Fist blow breaks nearest's face. Air tension thickens. Prisoners lower heads. Fear holds them silent. Ken Hyan leaves clearing, leaving behind defeated and broken. Kim Sona follows him, limping mutely and attempting not attracting excess attention. Dungeons stretched endless corridors. Darkness enveloped every turn as though hiding something important. Conductor walked ahead, carefully bypassing monsters, choosing path carefully and accurately. Canyon trudged after him, yawning from boredom and observing road as though hoping seeing at least enemy shadow. This walk bored him. He was angry at silent darkness, longing for at least some chaos. Conductor attempted justifying himself, yet Kan Hyun ordered stopping and arranging halt right here. Fire flared quickly. Guide fiddled by fire, cutting something into metal pot. Kan Hyun lay under tree, lazily watching him, and kicked pebble with sole boot. Guide was preparing noodles, throwing seasonings blindly, simultaneously glancing at Kenyon's swords. Pot boiled. Hot steam rose into darkness, mixing with fried meat and noodle smell. Kaney took bowler right from fire, not frowning that hot steel did not affect him at all. Guide sat next to him, watching Canyon eat as though seeing such thing first time. They ate silently. Tension hung in air which could not scatter even fire flame. Canyon suddenly turned, glanced at Guide as though just remembering him. He briefly asked age, past, as though evaluating whether he should survive. Guide answered with restraint. 25. His voice trembled, yet honesty and fatigue were heard in him. He talked about studies, work, family, father's fall, and poverty that came after. Kan Hun listened to everything without emotions, then dismissed as though brushing annoying fly. Guide was surprised, not understanding why asking if not going listening to answer. Kenyon ordered shutting up and finishing. No sympathy in tone, only calculation. They continued dinner, surrounded by darkness and silence which comes before storm. Empty pots lay near fire. Smoldering coals barely illuminated dark clearing. Kenyon was asleep. His sword lay nearby like continuation of hand. He opened eyes to Guide, slowly raised himself, and began listening to night silence. He looked at sleeping Kun. His lips trembled. Gaze darted between sword and forest. Memories flashed in head, face blow, blood in mouth, humiliation and fear. Thought flashed quickly. If killing him now, everything will end. Everything will be different. He clenched fists, took step, yet immediately stopped, unable bringing matter to end. Deciding, escaping, he looked back in darkness and silently headed toward forest. Voice came suddenly from darkness as though forest itself spoke, breaking silence. He flinched, Guide turned around. Heart was pounding, face turned white with horror. He attempted answering something, squeezing out insecure excuses. Kun looked at him. Eyes shone in shade like beast. Tone was calm, yet threat rang in it. Every word like poison drop. Froze Guide, not knowing what saying. Unable understanding whether Kani believed him, he nodded, slowly returned to place. Silence enveloped clearing again. Only wind noise in foliage remained. He realized there will be no second chance. And Kyun does not joke. Guide pointed toward hill. Their goblin village was visible behind trees. Ken Hyun stopped, squinted, sensed magic pulsation in air. He looked surprised, not understanding what Guide meant, how to sense it. Kenyon grinned, perceiving Satellite's weakness and hidden anger. Guide attempted concealing emotions behind false smile. Everything churned inside. He knew soon everything would conclude. In village center, dozens of goblins from different classes accumulated. Magic core attracted them as flame attracts moths. San knew village troops rarely leave core without reason. Now all forces were inside and survival chance was negligible. He did not believe Kanhun could manage. Goblins raised screams. One by one leaped from huts. Earth trembled underfoot when they charged attack. Kan Hyun stepped forward, drawing sword from behind. Blade flashed in dim light. He smiled as though meeting old friends at slaughterhouse. Backpack lifted as though thrown by invisible force. It collapsed exactly on Kanen's head. Kenyon raised eyebrow, looking upward. Guide rushed, running without looking around. Forest swallowed his silhouette. Branches whipped face. He shouted, accompanying run with laughter. Kenyon turned slowly, watching after him. Smile appeared on face, weary, angry, calm. Guide fell by tree, breathing heavily. Heart was beating, ringing in temples. Hands trembled. He was certain when leaving death. System notification burst in air. Message appeared. Dungeon main core is extracted. Following dungeon portal is activated to exit. He stared at inscription, not believing eyes. He observed message, not understanding how possible. He knew what that meant. Core is destroyed. Kaney survived managed. Sana was surprised how Kyun cleaned dungeon alone. He realized he had nowhere going, neither in dungeon nor beyond. Dungeon main core is extracted. Portal is activated for exit. Previously, Kan Hun rushed toward goblins, destroying everyone in path. San knew Kan Hun was strong, yet did not know what exactly he was capable of. Kan Hyun possessed great power and high resistance. For crowd fighting, not only power is needed, but also ability keeping defense. It was important withstanding attacks and reaching boss in straight line. This is dangerous strategy where delay threatens failure. Guide stood before portal, realizing Kan Hyun's power. He thought Ken Yun was just fighting well. Yet now he understood someone unusual contacted him. Kan Yun possessed unimaginable power. Brute force was his main weapon. Goblin Shaman's magical crystal and croc ring is strength 50 out of 50. Ring increases magical power by 4 points and mana recovery rate by 10%. Khan observed ring shining on finger. He thought about guide and opportunity dealing with him quickly. Kanye went through portal and saw many people at exit. He asked why they came surprised at their numbers. Crowd replied they did not come fighting, but wanted agreeing. Man in suit emerged from crowd, bait guild head Yong Yong. He attempted shaking hands with clans, yet he refused. Conan urged man getting to business, irritated by such courtesy. Yungniong invited Kunhin, joining their guild with benefits and support. Man saw in Konhun key to strength and growth of his guild. Conan listened carefully, evaluating proposal. He abandoned offer, not wanting joining guild. Man grinned, anticipating refusal, and handed business card again. Conan took business card, carefully looked and tore into 2 parts. Head and crowd looked surprised at his daring behavior. Conan laughed and said he was not as weak as they thought. He mockingly asked if Head was furious and offered fighting. Man abandoned fight, recalling they came for negotiations. Kon Hyune objected there would be no other discussion time. He compared situation with crawling cockroaches climbing everywhere. San thought Kon Hyun, though crazy, was clearly cool and confident in himself. Sena looked inquiringly at Chapter, expecting further actions. Kan Hyun got into car thinking about recent battle and mana exhaustion. In this state, he was slight target. He forgot about guide. Anger grew due to guildmaster actions. Sun volunteered accompanying Canny, helping prepare for dangerous meeting, one guy said. Guildmaster shouted, demanding filing sword to punish Sun. Sona was on knees, fearing and begging, sparing his life. Guildmaster asked if Sun was ready fulfilling any condition. Does he want living? Sona cried, agreeing to everything. Yet Guildmaster pierced him with sword. Guildmaster called Sona traitor and kicked him with foot, as such as he hoped staying alive. Sona fell into portal, which immediately closed. Crowd watched occurrences in complete shock and tension. Guildmaster summoned Deputy, finding out Kan Hyun's identity and plans. Deputy confidently accepted order, wiping sword from blood. Deputy reported Kan Hyun's surveillance had already been organized. Car with driver quietly followed Kun behind. Guildmaster grinned, not believing in Cannon's refusal from his proposal. He said pressure would increase if Kaney's relatives suffer. Guildmaster promised pressing Kaney to understand the situation's seriousness. He thought how long Kenhin could withstand such pressure. Sister asked what he would have for dinner after a long day. Kaney said first, need paying for mother's sick leave. Beef restaurant was filled with fried steak smell on stove. Sister was surprised unemployed graduate so often buys expensive beef. Kanjin replied spending money on food is most important thing. Sister offered helping fry meat, extending hand. Conan asked about mother and her condition after illness. Sister said mother is recovering and could wake soon. He was glad. Sister noticed his rare smile. Sister accused him of constant frowning and absence of real smile. Conan's insisted he was smiling all time, yet Sister did not mean psychopath smile. Suddenly, Conan grabbed stomach and said urgently needed toilet. Sister recalled meat was almost ready and asked for quickly. Khan hurried to men's toilet, thinking these were consequences of 2 days in dungeon. There it was bad with restroom. Leaving, he saw a man standing near Sister, who turned around and bowed to him. Sister asked if he knew man. He introduced himself to acquaintances and handed note to Kakun. Conan was surprised, not understanding who person is and why note. Familiar person would not immediately leave, not saying hello to him. He thought he had to greet him at least. Caney carefully read note, not expecting such message. Note included greeting and reminder of invitation from Bait Guild head. There was also indicated phone number and wishes of all best. Kanhun wondered what doing with this invitation and what next step will be. In evening, Sister invited Canyon going to store for beer, yet he refused. Sister decided buying beer for herself and drinking alone. Canyon chose going on own and buying beer. Seller said goodbye and thanked for purchase. Streets around were deserted and lit by lanterns. Canyon thought it was possible going to dungeons less and spending more time at home. He heard call. Father called. He said mother woke up and recovered. Father said friend came visiting mother and handed over greetings. Kenyon was surprised and asked friend's name. His name is. This caused him fear and anger. Next day, Mena and colleague met on way to work. One overslept, weekend only ended. 2 girls met Mrs. Shenson. She was in armor. They greeted her. Mistress gave them coffee and wished good day, and girls discussed her oddities. They watched her withdrawn. Why is she always in armor? They were surprised. Little strange, yet seems good person. All people are special, yet Sona is really angel, and man thought worst of them. Each person is special, each in own way. Mon was what to tell. She saw much. Someone breaks hands during sparring. Someone has gangster face since registration. He looked like fierce orc. She still dreamed nightmares. And suddenly, Ken Hun appeared behind her. Their views met. She was horrified and he held out hand. Girl screamed, "Police!" Zarina called to rescue and asked saving them. Kan Hyun asked about Kim Nana. He needed him protecting family. Girl said Kim Nian is now absent. He only sometimes works as instructor here. Kim was at meeting. He talked about increasing dungeon levels and importance of people with abilities. They knocked on door. Kim said meeting was not over yet. Man announced commotion in reception because of his acquaintance. In Seoul Center, tall skyscraper towered. Kanhen sat in Kim's reception. Kim said they would see, yet he did not expect meeting happening this way. Kim asked Kenyun in what case he granted. Kanyun turned to Kim with request protecting family from Gildabay. Kim noted guild fame, yet said it is impossible intervening officially. Ken Hyun explained he was going destroying guild himself to solve problem. Kim asked why he was chosen helping in this matter. Ken Hun replied Kim is strongest person he knows. He added he does not trust friend Yusen. He is little crazy and he does not even know his number. Kaney asked defending family for only 1 week, promising generous payment. Kim recalled he is guild deputy leader and is not interested in money, yet more important things. Kan Hyun, with irony, asked if Kim wants his body, causing laughter in that laughter. Kim said if everything goes successfully, it will be necessary meeting guild leader for approval and possible assistance. 5 guards stand outside and inside Kan Hyun's parents' chamber. 5 more patrol at younger sister's work using reasonable prepositions. Ken Hyan is glad of such protection level, yet Kim warns him about danger. He definitely wants going alone. There are many people in Bait Guild. Kan Hun thinks and notes their guild is larger in size. Yet Kim reminds guild strength is not building size, yet fact they control many dungeons. This means Bait Guild is strong despite modest building. Kim also recalls after receiving note, Kon Hyong immediately contacted guild and most likely they gathered all strength. Sudden attack may work. Kon Hyun recalls he agreed meeting and made clear family safety for him is first place. Thanks to this, he won time hiring Kim. Then Kan Hyun takes out wallet and gives Kim asked parking car at house. yet does not reveal all plans. He promises returning alive and healthy by tomorrow and leaves. Kim remains at loss. Bite met Conan with emphasized solemnity. There were many people in home. Atmosphere resembled honored guest reception. Kan Hyun smiled, yet was inwardly alert. Such magnificent meetings seemed ostentatious to him. According to guild head reaction in his environment, it was clear they intend showing now he is family part. However, in Konun's mind, different meaning of this word played. Family turns into shackles. This thought only strengthened determination. He activated strength, lion's roar of rage, magic rushed down, hitting floor. Flash blinded everyone, causing panic. People shouted, tried hiding. Chapter realized Kanye destroys floor, despite metal reinforcement under coating. He used Wine's secret technique, giant power. One powerful blow split reinforcement. Floor began crumbling. People fell along with debris. They were littered with concrete and metal pieces. Conan, with satisfaction, observed destruction effect. At this moment, another ability was activated. Morav rare cover. His skin was strengthened, becoming firm as armor, providing additional protection in event of counterattack. Guildhead approached, offering Kan Hyun prudent cooperation. Kan Hun heard about partnership and grinned inwardly. Devil was already crossed. Leader apologized for family visit, hinting at joint force benefit against Dan. He dreamed overthrowing Consane and getting higher, expanding influence outside Korea. Canyon, in response, appreciated words as dementia, comparing them with teenage delirium. Head boasted of 200 guild members inside building and thousands around country. He saw in Canyon missing symbol capable of leading army along. Kenyon spat leader in face, showing contempt for plans. There was heavy silence in hall, mixing humiliation with fury of observing members. Canyon, grinning, called Guildhead's dreams puberty teenager delirium, advising recording fantasies for YouTube audience. Guildhead slowly wiped saliva from face. Face was distorted from contempt. He breathed hoarsely that such answer was expected. Anger sounded in voice. He called Canyon low-grade garbage, unable comprehending greatness of plans. Anger rose in him, inflating vanity. Ken Hyan burst out laughing, comparing chapter ambitions with medieval noble dreams. Survivors froze in bewilderment. Guildhead blushed. Rage and humiliation appeared on face with sharp folds. Voice broke into cry, and he gave order, destroying daring enemy. Masters instantly concentrated confusion spell on one goal. Darkness waves flowed to Kan Hyun, distorting vision and hearing, causing perception breakdown. Magic pressure was thickening as though viscous night fell on lonely figure. Around Ken Hyun, air trembled as though preparing breaking through locked force. He activated Lion Roar of Rage, filling muscles with pulsating energy. Force hit from inside. Opponent magic waves began going out. Darkness veil for moment froze, then scattered, leaving pure lumen. Attackers staggered back, feeling own mana flowing into void. Threat level suddenly changed. Hunters felt themselves driven prey. Conan releases power. Mental debuffs scatter strong mind ring. Con activates Moravelier integration. Khitan armor covers skin and extinguishes spells. Guildhead growls, demanding immediate attack. Fighters form new magical pressure wave. Opponent figures jump from destroyed floor, attempting getting closer through chaos. Through veil, only steel flashes and concrete crumb under blows are visible. Kanye meets attackers with accurate dissection. Each wave makes next one. Blades slide through armor, leaving no wounds. Reflected force breaks wrists. Guildhead clenches fists. Anger turns into powerless growl over broken front. Burning guild building turns into black rectangle. Smoke hid sky. Kanye was breathing heavily among littered bodies. Blood flowed through red-hot concrete. Guildhead towered before him. Surviving fighters crowded behind Kuna. Leader mocked wounded enemy, claiming they are same in essence. Kuna rejected comparison, believing killers should be ready dying. Head confidently announced imminent death of Kan Hyun, seeing him exhausted. Dark tentacles which constrained Kanjin's body burst from ground. In deputy blade reflection, Kahun's face flashed, whose sword spilled new blood. Steel pierced Hero's back. Thoughts of long resistance fell silent in head. Head praised deputy for exact blow, preparing delivering control. He touched enemy's head with spell. Flesh began burning with bright flame. Pain scream cut smoke. Con Hyun's body covered deadly fire. Guildhead moved away, lit cigarette, and watched bonfire devour enemy. Battle brought more than 30 corpses and 50 heavy wounded among guild fighters. Losses were estimated as severe damage caused by single individual. Leader ordered removing all equipment from fallen, hoping at least slight damage recovery. Yet Kanhun's body vanished. Night enveloped city. System reported resurrection and daily penalties. He opened apartment door, found sister in living room. Exhaustion was readable in her gaze. There were armor traces and dirty soles on carpet. Freshly washed floor needed wiping again. Conan felt hunger after death. Thought only about food and hot broth. Sister grumbled, noticing he was again in shoes and armor, yet still served dinner. 2 days later, Kirgi Gorge's dungeon under Bait Guild control. 2 sentries were bored at gate, complaining about rare adventurer visits to their dangerous sector. Rumors about guild cruel affairs scared hunters. Death risk and equipment loss did not attract them. Silence was interrupted by footsteps. Lone figure in mask and dark armor appeared on trail. Metal plates reflected light. Silhouette approached without hesitation. Sentries looked at each other, feeling fear. Stranger radiated threat. In memory, it arose as he destroyed their headquarters floor. Thought made heart squeeze. Con Hyun realized frontal guild attack reminded him of throwing eggs into granite wall. Endless resurrection gave infinite number of eggs, yet penalties cut force for day and slowed progress. He decided destroying enemies pointedly. He invaded their dungeons and cut out parties one by one. In Cake Gorge, mask hit face. Hand squeezed throat of last surviving bait fighter. Rest lay lifeless. Blood was absorbed into sand. Prisoner trembled, not understanding why. Asked forgiveness. Ignorance did not save from punishment. Conan threw him to ground, placed pen in order recording all dungeons guild holds. Man hastily displayed names, trying not, trembling. Sheet began saturating later. Conan wondered why police did not notice murders. Cameras were absent in captured locations. Bribery rumors went, yet little evidence. Guild chose zones without observation. Sheet was filled with addresses. Khan took it, briefly praised and touched enemy head. Magic light pulled from palm. Captive skin flashed. Pain scream tore gorge silence. Con Hyun left, deciding not leaving traces and cleaning to end. Media reported popular guild buildings were destroyed. It was no different from monster actions. Population was alarmed. All Bait headquarters windows were knocked out. Facade covered with cracks. Building was blazing. Guild representatives explained they should explore monsters for mankind benefit. Inside cabinet, guild head fiercely hit table, angry with failure excuses. Yet how else hiding that abnormal's actions? Deputy burst, having received ashtray in forehead, yet he delivered alarming news. Unknown raider had already defeated 7th Bait dungeon. 100 fighters died. Each security strengthening led only to loss increases. Panic grew. Chapter ordered sending all available people on duty. Organized shifts without rest. Deputy left office, wiping blood from forehead. Silence reigned in office. Chapter was left alone, recalling last 5 days' events and strange coincidences. Conan's body disappeared immediately after attack. There were no official explanations. 2 days later, point raids began on guild dungeons. Damage grew rapidly. In leader head, belief of hidden accomplices in large-scale conspiracy was strong. Despite irritation, he understood situation was getting out of control and requires assistance. At that moment, he called on phone, and at other end was familiar ally Hyon. Guild head spoke about problem and expressed hope for support. Interlocutor doubted material benefits since he already had much money, yet agreed helping for battle participation's sake. He noted he was interested in prospect-checking new fighter, Rowdy, which guild head spoke of. At conversation end, Ally expressed readiness joining case, smiling in anticipation of upcoming events. Night came and two gods stood at gate. One of them, Yusen, tried starting conversation, yet interlocutor remained silent and reluctantly answered. Ian was looking forward to unusual guy arrival who was supposed sighting, hoping expectation was not vain. Suddenly he heard steps and was alert. Masked man was approaching them. Yusen's sixth sense, his special ability, worked sharply, warning of danger. This was first time when signal was so loud he understood, if not wanting death, need running. However, one who came was friend Kanhen. Yusen was amazed seeing him and in surprise asked what doing here. Yin smiled and asked Kon Hyun whether he was really involved in people group destruction. Their conversation pushed Kong Yun thinking perhaps behind guild debate is rich family, which was reminded of Kim's words, Yusen family. Kon Hun brought sword to Ein's throat, tried finding out if working for guild. Yusen did not want him equaling him with this garbage. Kon Hun, in response, mockingly doubted this, asking why Yusen was here. Here, Eon explained, guild belongs to Nana. He expressed neglect of those whom Kon Hyun considers enemies, describing situation as game where one bandit humiliates, begging for help. Kon Yun accepted this with humor and decided not intervening, offering once eating together. However, he did not even know his number and suddenly felt danger. Yusen was already striving for attack, yet Kanhen managed stopping blow in time, and considered everything too predictable and boring, laughing at situation. Kenyon was surprised at Yusen's sudden attack from behind when he swung mace. Sword and mace collided in powerful blow, and Canyon thought he could spare friend. At that moment, Yusen encouraged him, urging giving everything from himself and not restraining for second. Giant power, Wine's secret technique, was in action when Kan Hun rushed into attack. Yusen definitely evaded, smiling and noting Kan Hun became even more formidable opponent. He admired friend's power, enjoying battle, who, as he admitted, did not plan, yet felt long-forgotten excitement. Yusen saw this in opponent's face expression and suggested they enjoy battle together. Suddenly, Deputy tried intervening, yet Cyan easily threw off his mace blow, causing Ken Hyun surprise. He realized they were lying allies. Yusen regretted having to kill him because he really wanted worthy fighting Ken Hen. Whole mood was gone. Ken Hun expressed irritation to Ison's behavior, yet he explained not wanting him hating him. Conversation smoothly went to Jung to Nana, influential chairman's illegitimate son whose arrogance was tension cause. Kaney was not going, allowing influencing his actions and intimidating enemies with their influence. He turned around and was about leaving, urging not wasting time on empty conversations, advising Eon relaxing. However, Yusen detained friend, declaring desire joining and observing Chon's reaction, anticipating future conflicts. He would see him seeing how he will rage. Guild head shouted, holding head. 3 more dungeons were plundered, yet Yusen did not answer. He was indignant at subordinates' futility, breaking everything around. It seemed he did not understand why paying these idiots. Did he ask much, just killing one guy to end enemies? He ordered collecting all guild members, no matter how much time would take. Diseases, death, relatives, everything should go into background, and everyone was obliged being in place. His anger was indomitable. Situation was worsening. More and more people left guild. Connection with them was lost. Deputy proposed not threatening relatives so as not provoking even greater outflow. Yet chapter was adamant. It was necessary, forcing everyone obeying. In crisis midst, unknown subscriber called mobile. Voice turned out familiar. Conversation clarified much. Guild bait is now under powerful press. Everything can be easier than he thought. Judging by rumors, someone seriously prevented bait guilds from working and situation looked suspicious. Eon and Kanhen carefully read comments. Despite fact Kanhen was doing this for only a week, he decided time had come putting all this to end. Pity that fun is coming to end, they thought. When Yusen asked about future finale, Kanhen whispered something in ear. Jan's reaction was instant. He called Kanhen abnormal. Guildhead read message about meeting scheduled tomorrow at 6 evening in Disrangan Forest Dungeon on Mount Sosin with Noble Robber. He anticipated how he would remove this impudent face with skulls and hang it in office. People around were whispering about need being careful, yet not coming was too risky. Head with difficulty accepted idea he would have to take such worthless people with him, all because of one guy. He recalled telephone conversation. They used offering help, yet soon refused, leaving chapter in confusion. Man said he washed hands and advises relying on own father. Throwing phone. Guildhead realized this person was even worse than Yusen. Even calling him man was difficult. He burned letter covered by anger and bitterness, anticipating imminent reprisal against arrogant enemies. Meanwhile, meeting was held in another place where day topic was discussed. Guild bait gathered members including Hyon. Conversations were about fact help from allies should not be expected, and if guild perishes, Mr. Chowie would not intervene. Yet if Hyen Hai and Sansa dies, Guy objected. Choi demonstrated force causing magic tentacles who grabbed man by throat, lifting into air. He was not going seeing about anyone. After that, man was released and fell on sofa trying catching breath. He was ordered doing work and attracting new facilities for financing, order he perceived without objections. Dunji Dungeon. Retropanoff Forest was anxious. People group came out of gate. All were bait guild members. Leader in exasperation specified time, and having heard arrows showing 6 hours, 3 minutes, could not restrain annoyance. He was angry. One whose scheduled meeting was late. Perhaps vainly they came. Suspicion was in air, and he ordered everyone being alert. No one knew whether ambushes awaited them or everything happening was only empty threat. Suddenly, deputy gave alarm. Moving point appeared in distance behind which dust trail stretched. Everyone turned there, and soon figure became distinguishable. It was Kan Hyun. He fled, and flock of Distrupins was moving behind him. Guildhead did not immediately believe eyes. Thought of possible double flashed through head, yet too much in this appearance was real. He understood before them exactly one whom they had long considered dead. Thoughts swept in head with whirlwind. Kan Hun is really alive, and judging by expression, he knew why he came. Ken Hyun raised hand, demonstrating Cub Denon as strange gift. Guild crowd was surprised. In enemy hands was Fluffy Baby. Ken Hun sharply threw Cub into System Center, turning Mercy into Flying Shell. One fighter rushed forward, discarding spear to catch animal. Kid fell right into arms, causing tenderness and relief surge. Another detachment part was outraged by enemy cruelty, reproaching him in inhumanity. Guildhead interrupted them, recalling real threat. Behind Kankin, whole flock of angry drains, inflated by abduction, moved. Their roar mixed with weapon clang and panic noise. Earth trembled with hundreds of paws. Forest reflected echo of evil choral roar. Fighters realized Cutie became bait, turning field into lethal trap. Enemy used live throw as tactical move, tearing construction. Defense turned into random retreat. Canyon shouted new mockery and threw bag full of Destroy-Nov children into crowd. Bag opened in air and droop scattered over fighters like live rain from cuties. While crowd was rushing about, Ken Hyan lifted sword and rushed into attack on Guildhead. Blade flashed, yet enemy managed retreating. In next instant, Drupins had already dug into fighters, preventing them from moving and defending themselves. They came for cubs and will not spare anyone. Using chaos, Canyon turned and disappeared into forest with slight grin, wishing enemies good luck. Guildhead screamed furiously, looking after him. Idea of how difficult coping with droops because of their ability becoming invisible due to ability tormented him. And now combat system is also destroyed. All tactics went to dust. Magic barriers burst under animal onslaught. Soldiers scattered, confused. Guild head, covered by rage, ordered retreating. Panic instantly covered ranks. Someone from crowd with relief noted being in rear where survival chances above. Crowd, distraught with fear, rushed to portal, pushing each other in effort, getting out alive. Man came out of portal. His appearance made everyone stop in daze. It was Yusen. He slowly straightened up, holding mace behind him. Immediately, for second, he brought weapon and crunched with crunch on first in row, those who were closer. Blood sprinkled to sides. Pain screams tore air. People bodies scattered around, turning dungeon exit into real nightmare. Path to salvation instantly turned into trap. Soyen, covered by excitement, waved bulava with fury, crushing everything around. His eyes burned with madness and enthusiasm. He enjoyed every massacre moment. Panic reigned in crowd. From behind back there were help screams, horror screams, and mercy prayers. Guildhead stood nearby, bewildered and tense. He tried realizing what was happening while surrounding chaos only grew. Thoughts rushed. Yusen betrayed them. Yet when exactly this happened, how he managed spending them all. It was complete failure. He felt everything collapsed. Desperate hope flashed in head. Maybe there was still some escape way. Turn everything back. At least one. Slightest survival chance. Guildhead looked at Kan Hyun, who fought with his fighters. Anger overwhelmed him. Everything went too far. Thoughts were confused. He is tired. They became more and more, and it seemed they did not end. He clenched fist, and it caught fire with flame. Kan Hyun at this time inflicted mortal blow to enemy. Suddenly, Ken Han heard cry behind him. Guildhead fled to him. His body was covered with fire. He was not going retreating. If this is end, he was going taking Kan Hyun with him. He activated self-immolation skill. Kyong closed hand from heat that gripped everything around. Flame raged. Screams were heard. People did not understand why they were. Guildhead realized how destructive his skill was, dangerous even for himself. Yet, if simultaneously he can drag Kan Hyun with him, victim will be justified. He held out hand and touched enemy face. Ken Hun calmly reacted. According to him, such attack could only warm him. He used magic. Force streamed through Guildhead, and he, bleeding, flew on ground, stopping at dead wolf body. He settled without strength. Kan Hyun ordered him sitting and watching. After all that happened, there could be no peace. Now his fate is observing own people death. Guildhead sat on empty battlefield. Everything around was dead. Consciousness swept madness, and his laughter spread through fading meadow. All fighters lay without life signs, and he continued laughing as though enchanted. Hune and Saun approached him, watching this strange picture. In defeated leader eyes, despair and barely noticeable salvation prayer flashed. Thoughts rushed about tragic past, illegitimate son despised by family. It was recalled how relatives pulled him into power struggle only for own convenience. Father support was formal and gave only occasion for new envious people bites. He felt for relatives it was always only instrument in their intrigues. World change and training appearance gave hope yet could not lead to victory. Awakened changed world order returning strongest survival law. Guild leader saw in this opportunity turning fate, yet did not manage developing thought. Sword blow cut off confession. Head rolled along blood-covered earth. Kan Hyun and Sona silently observed. Battle flame gasped in dead field silence. For Canyon, enemy elimination seemed simple garbage harvesting, suitable only for landfill. Feeling after revenge turned out empty, as though stuck sulfur stuck from ear. Relief without emotions. San grinned when hearing next unsuccessful Canyon metaphor. Canyon thoughtfully examined battlefield littered with bodies. He sorted out in head what doing with trophies. So refused praying. He had enough money. Then Caney decided all remaining would go for sale. Early money did not really bother him. Income from dungeons was more than enough. Yet now he clearly understood one's strength and personal resources are not enough. Protecting what is really important will need both money and influence. Kan Hyun and Seyun stood at gates, observing how last magic spark disappears. Junzan looked at landscape before them and said, now everything was really over. Kan Hyun nodded silently. His gaze was concentrated and serious, as though thoughts had already stepped far forward. He spoke about possibility creating his guild. Yusen immediately agreed without even waiting for phrase end. He felt there was something interesting ahead. Ken Hun tried laughing it off as though not planning calling him to team at all. Yet he only laughed. Everything was already clear. At that moment, both could not know small guild created in joke would eventually become greatest force in Korea. Not in kindest sense. They decided going to eat beef. Kaney hoped he was not paying. Yusen grinned, recalling how much money he has. Massive skyscraper towered above city. It was corporation building sharing man's. Office where meeting was held. Responsibility for non-advance lay on Chanjun's shoulders. Before him stood Kong Konan's Sok Group chairman, Jung Sanan's Su. He spoke with anger, accusing Imjun of agreement violation. Yet he turned around. He was calm. His face expressed no anxiety or embarrassment. Minjin reacted with cold neglect. He doubted very fact of violations, faintly surprised. San-Su violently retorted, recalling week had already passed since Sun's disappearance and guild members. Yet interlocutor only shrugged. His answer was frankly cynical. He called San-Su's son garbage who had no abilities and his very appointment whim no more. Young-Su was furious. His voice broke with anger. He gave order destroying Myun. Second later, all guard rushed forward. Minjun remained sitting on couch, absolutely calm. Shva opened eyes and activated strength. Huge red tentacles appeared from his body, who instantly grabbed all attackers by throat. They began screaming from unbearable pain, panting, unable breathing. Tentacles lifted them into air, not letting them recover. Shivyu came up to John Chairman closely and with icy calm recalled concluded contract. Having stated he had fulfilled it as far as possible and asked what claims were. Jung tried objecting, yet his words were quickly interrupted by strict warning. If this repeated, serious answer would follow. After that, Sheva smiled sweetly. Tentacles disappeared, and attackers collapsed to ground exhausted. He expressed satisfaction that issue was settled and reminded of need paying promised money until day end. Simultaneously, he was interested who exactly dealt with Neon. Guild bait disappearance and sudden vanishing of such large organization caused rumor storm and speculation. Media and adventurers excited public discussing whether it was true that bait was destroyed. There were hot discussions, people disappeared in dungeons, and all this was associated with power struggle and maniac appearance. Threat growth in dungeons and criminal organization appearance probability became more and more real. However, with new guilds' advent, Bait Guild began disappearing from news and was finally lost, as though no one noticed its disappearance. Problems seemed resolved. All annoying flies were eliminated. At this time, Eon and Ken Hen sat at table. Lunch. Isen rejoiced at battle's success and fact that thanks to Kan Han's connections, all extracted loot managed selling favorably. Mood seemed excellent, yet clear melancholy was readable across one of their faces. Kuhn explained problem in title he received was Cruel Tank Destroyer. His description said it was prejudice, as though monsters had no feelings. This title is gift for countless families destroyed cruelly. This exclusive title gives strength +2 and causes others instinctive fear, gap hostility. He repeated these lines, realizing unequipped titles give only half their effects. Conan was already at limit due to how people reacted to him, and with this misunderstanding title would only add. Reassured that Hun did not worry about such trifles and considers Konhen terrible person, so no one would notice difference. At that moment, phone rang from Kokin. Name Neon from Dun appeared on screen. Message was from Kim Neon, who reminded of agreement meeting their guild leader. and he suggested organizing meeting as soon as possible, asking when Konjin will be free. Dangun Guild was on 12th floor. She did not seem terrible to Ken Hyun. He thought this person could be taken with him and asked Kim, pointing to So-yoon. Kim said guild leader gave permission. Soyeon added leader contacted him only 4 times and he and Kayun were familiar. Ken had reacted that word Nuna from his mouth sounds terribly and asked when they managed meeting. Kim explained they had once seen at cultural event. Kaney was surprised who Kan Sai-noon was, and noticed she seemed also one of those who had trained, and he, despite training, remained overboard. They approached reception room. Kim knocked on door and called leader. There was voice with invitation entering. They opened door and entered. Inside was Kan Seon-yeon, Dangun guild leader. Kan Hyun shook her hand, introduced himself, and she expressed acquaintance joy and said she had heard about him much good from Kim. Soon greeted her, and Kim, wishing them good luck, left closing door. Kan Se-ai invited sitting on sofa, after which Kan Hyun thanked her for help and expressed desire repaying. She said it was not difficult and should not think about it. Kan Hyun admitted not liking being in debt and asked going to business. She agreed and, looking directly into eyes, invited Kan Hyun, joining Dangun Guild. After his refusal, awkward pause hung in room. Head noted she would not insist and accepted answer. Kanye expressed readiness, helping another way, and promised supporting if necessary. Head replied for them this is also profitable deal, having strong awakened in debtor. She asked how much current lull in world-full dungeons and prosperous crime would last. Conan admitted, certainly not knowing yet, believes better becoming stronger because little time exists. Only 3 years before dimensional connection which threatens danger. When asked why she thinks so, Head replied she could not disclose all details. Guildhead mentioned there is essence that knows absolutely everything, and they have awakened one capable making contact with it. Kanye guessed it was most likely about dimensional administrator. Chapter hinted Kun already understood what was happening. Dungeon complexity grows rapidly while awakened power lags behind. Kan-hun, confident in abilities, noted this does not concern him. Cyan added ironically, as they say that which does not kill makes stronger. Yet simultaneously joked monsters did not kill firearms. Therefore, among awakened, there are none who use them. Crossbows and bows, however, remain in demand, and this confirms for survival need being able adapting to new conditions. Chapter emphasized, only those who act despite changes can become truly strong. She said bluntly Konha could become hero. He dismissed, does not consider himself kind, especially considering what happened to Bait Guild. Yet Chapter answered sharply, they were garbage. This surprised Kon Hyun. She explained, Bait would still not play any role in mankind's salvation, which means they did not deserve protection. Head looked at him without hesitation and firmly said, person like him is more useful than hundreds of those whom he destroyed. World is not protected by saints. Stronger saves it. Not those who talk about morality, yet those who are able acting when time comes. Her words did not sound lofty. They felt convinced. She saw in Canyon not just fighter, yet weapon capable turning future events course. And in this dangerous, unstable world where truth is less, power became only real argument. Kim went into office after he spent guests. Head asked if he spent them, and he confirmed, adding he organized car landing. When he asked her meeting opinion, she replied, impression was extremely positive. Though she admitted everything went differently than expected. She explained. At moment when she started talking about dimensional administrator, she noticed how Karang's eyes trembled for a split second. It was enough understanding he went through training. Meanwhile, in protected zone's central part, there were gates. They were carefully guarded. 2 dungeons, E and D rank, were distinguished by only 1 letter in name, yet difference between them was colossal. Not only monster strength and number increased significantly, yet their diversity was striking, especially in Dank dungeon, in which she was near Dean's laboratory. It was there that almost abnormal variety of forms, types, and creature behavioral models was observed. Conan walked along blood-stained dungeon floor, not being distracted by orc bodies scattered everywhere. Battle with them did not require effort. Whether ordinary orc, warrior, or leader, strategy almost did not change. However, recently dungeons have changed. Instead of same-type enemies, creatures with different forms, battle styles, and weaknesses began appearing, which forced adapting each time again. On way, he met Ogre, a natural creature with orc body and goblin head. His appearance resembled unsuccessful experiment result, as though someone had gathered monster hastily without thinking about balance. Conan internally noted monster was more like weakening change, as though in-game after unsuccessful update, powerful in appearance, yet with obvious gaps. However, danger was obvious. Monster brought huge hammer and brought it to ground, yet Kaney managed jumping away, avoiding blow. Confident, he continued maneuvers, evaluating enemy strength. Monster released viscous liquid in his direction. Few drops hit floor, which began melting under acid influence. Conan reacted quickly, involving magical protection. He understood this enemy is not only physically strong, yet also has dangerous properties. His armor clearly belonged to elite category. Nevertheless, observing battle course, Kon Hyun identified weakness, weapons. Massive hammer monster used became his goal. He concluded victory lies not in frontal attack, yet in depriving enemy of strength. And in this battle he was doing just that. Simultaneously, one man frowned, hearing piercing wild cry which was heard somewhere in dungeon depths. He turned around and asked who could scream like that, yet his partner only dismissed. They say, "This is someone hunting." Nothing unusual. Instead of worrying about other people's screams, he advised focusing on what was happening right before them. Silent girl stood before them. Her gaze was cold and presence was ominous calm. One man grinned, noticing how he began liking this place. Dungeons always brought chaos, yet they had their own romance. And yet, strange sounds were getting closer. He noticed this, yet again received in response only irritated mutter. Nothing to worry, just another hunt. Both turned out simultaneously. Behind their backs from darkness, Ken Hyun was slowly approaching, dragging huge hammer stained in blood and mucus. He was approaching and then with slight mockery, as though with sincere pleasure, added, "He just likes needing people." Two men were first alerted and then, looking at each other, snorted. One of them, with irony in voice, quit what was in front of them. Second, squinting, specified he had hammer behind him, and before someone managed reacting, Kong Hun lifted weapon above head. Metal hammer case with roar hit dungeon ceiling, causing indignation surge in this. One man yelled he had survived from mind once deciding waving such colossus in such cramped space. Yet contrary to expectations, hammer did not get stuck and did not fall. Conhan, with unexpected ease, lowered him down and hit floor before them. Stone cracked, sparks flew around, and for a moment everyone was silent. He calmly shook hands. Conhenna said hammer is too cumbersome and inconvenient for use as main weapon, and as though it was about trifles, put it in inventory. His opponents froze in dumb surprise until one of them laughed. Spectacular beginning. Yet it seems he even realized all this was complete nonsense. Meanwhile, Kung Hyun was approaching, not showing either fear or anger. One man grinned, grabbed knife, and rushed to attack, confident that without weapon it was not dangerous. However, it all ended in one movement. Conan simply slapped him face slap. He collapsed to ground as though had received sledgehammer blow. Rest looked at each other dumbfounded. Kanye leaned over, grabbed defeated by hair, and looking at others, demanded giving everything they have. Reaction was only phrase scraps. Abnormal, and scream, "Everyone on attack." He is alone. "How to call you?" Kung Hun suddenly asked, turning to Prick. "Come, Yisek," he muttered. "Okay, Yisk, we'll avenge you." he answered with irony, and with Gusk attack cry threw him right in nearest enemy. Usyk now becoming shell crashed deliciously into one attacker, knocking him down. Blow turned out so effective that even those standing further froze. Ken Hyun grinned, nodded with approval, and added loudly, "It turned out well. Well, let's say Guy will be sipped." Survivors shouted, retreating in panic. "Start, psycho!" Someone stumbled, other threw weapon. Everything happened too quickly. Konun slowly was approaching. His steps were measured. His gaze was icy. One attacker, wriggling on floor, cried out with disgust. "Foo! Damn!" His lips touched me. And other was already squealing, "Save! Help!" They lost self-control, forgetting about pride and number power. Panic crushed them. Aside, almost without moving, girl stood. She obviously did not participate in massacre. Her face was pale, lips were clenched into thin line. She was left alone, neither weapons in hands nor desire intervening. She silently looked at what was happening. Kanye glanced in her direction, wiped palm on pants, and as though just completing routine task. Kan-hun appreciated all this took more time than expected. Girl who was silent before came closer and thanked him for help. Noting thanks to him, she escaped troubles. Ken Hyun calmly dismissed, explaining people murder is his hobby and he did not need bowing. She introduced herself as Sona and with slight smile asked how contacting him better. He replied, embarrassed he was just Kan Hyun. Girl seriously asked what doing to become as strong as he is. Her gaze became thoughtful. It was a historical moment. Third joined two worst discharges of Korea, yet this became known later. He repeated her question, doubting it was difficult, and said for this just need trying. However, he noted not all efforts lead to results. Kung Yun said sometimes need trying to death, literally. It sounded strange given his resurrection ability. He advised her protecting herself and deciding whether leaving enemies alive. Leaving, he suddenly stopped, looked around corner, and asked if she could get out. She replied it was unlikely. Conan was surprised. Usually in such cases they asked for help. Girl admitted not being ready helping yet offered accompanying him during Laid, having promised quietly collecting magic stones and not interfering. He expressed doubts because of danger, yet she assured she could take care of herself. After small pause, agreed, deciding let go with him. Conan walked ahead among monster corpses and Girl walked behind collecting magic crystals. She showed secrecy skills and acted in battle as support, shooting at enemies, without interfering with rear, taking on all work, collecting magic stones, which greatly facilitated battle. When Conan asked what she would do next, Girl replied she was going through dungeon to very end, despite enhanced boss energy ahead. Suddenly, message appeared, dungeon main core deleted. Portal is open to dungeon exit. Cannon was surprised climbing forward, yet then thought he felt boss energy. It was dungeon breakthrough. Meanwhile, news reported breakthrough into Durang dungeon. Simultaneously, several dozen dungeons opened within Seoul. What caused third large-scale monster influx called monster invasion. Experts suggested this is organized terrorist act significantly different from previous incidents, which already forced government-attracting army. At Coin Ability Users Alliance Leader Headquarters, Donva reported action preparation was completed, and breakthrough occurred precisely in Durang Dungeon, located in Dion's laboratory in Kyog. This dungeon was considered too complicated, taking it for cleaning before, and now turned out there was large-scale crisis. There were no large guilds nearby, and Hangul Guild main forces were occupied elsewhere. Head gave order preparing 50 elite fighters for sending to Savon. Divide rest into commands and direct to rest dungeons. Kim reported current situation. Intelligence reported Ability Users Alliance leader personally is being cleaned with his elite fighters. Head asked if they managed coping. After all, there was not single large guild nearby capable organizing defense, except Han Guil Guild and several small groups. However, a report was received that one person with huge sword and impressive musculature straightened with monsters with lightning speed. Chapter was surprised, and Kim noted his face is so evil you can take for monster. Head was at loss for a moment, yet then smiled, coming to conclusion there was no reason for concern. Kenyon stood in middle of area dotted with orc corpses and other monsters. People voices came around expressing surprise and distrust. One person, simple ability user, coped with such horde. One man apologized to Kan and for salvation, offering repaying for help. Kaney answered something sharply, demanding he leave, warning if remaining could die. Man was surprised, yet Ken Hyun continued. Break did not close, which means boss will appear soon. Ken Hun warned loudly, boss would appear soon, and if they remain, would die. People were silent, yet one guy tried objecting, saying they were all ability users and could help. Canyon went up to him and asked how many bosses he killed. Answer was uncertain. Only one. Kan Hun said they would only interfere and insisted everyone going to shelter. Crowd was confused and outraged by his words, yet finally agreed leaving. Kan Hun was left alone, yet girl remained with him. He asked her, covering him with arrows and finding shelter, to which she agreed. Armored leg appeared from portal. Several monsters came behind it. Kun was surprised. 3 heavenly kings were before him, each no weaker than Urka, with whom he recently fought. Above them in air, skeleton in mantle sword, boss. Monster was surprised at unusual buildings around and then drew attention to Kyun, and he expressed bewilderment that decided shifting path alone. Kan Hyun was not at loss. He removed hammer and was ready for battle, calling monster to personal duel, driving rest away. Skeleton refused fighting one-on-one, which caused contempt at Kenyon, who rushed to attack. Monsters were amazed at powerful lion roar and canyon fury. He pushed away from ground and, hanging in air, began striking in turn. Skeleton, watching battle, noted he does not feel magical energy from Canyon, only pure physical strength, and thought it was pity killing such strong enemy, better capturing alive and making slave. Kenyan knocked Night Orc from feet with powerful hammer blow. Helmet flew off head and he collapsed to ground. Ken Hyun himself confidently landed on feet, noting weapon severity. At that moment, Skeleton directed hand over him, covered by magical radiance. Mind control power was activated, and Kankin's gaze changed. He froze, falling under spell influence. Orc Knight, now fully controlled by Skeleton, announced victory and called on Canyon, bowing head as devotion sign. Yet instead of submission, Canyon himself began glowing with magic energy, radiating red radiance which surprised Skeleton watching him. Kan Han, with contempt, rejected consciousness control attempt thanks to strong mind ring which effectively resisted skeleton magic. Skeleton, irritated and surprised, realized enemy was protected by special object, yet could not break Ken Yun's will. Suddenly, from half-grade, attack collapsed and hit Kan Hyun, throwing him to building. At most critical moment, arrow appeared in air, aptly struck Tiger, causing evil growl. Kan Hyun noted blow accuracy and timeliness, mentally thanking Dream for support. Skeleton irritatedly watched occurrences, realizing Kenyon had ally. Despite blow, Ken Hyun stayed on feet and immediately moved to counterattack using hammer. He knocked Tiger Orc with accurate head blow and it crashed to ground. Sting suddenly arose in air and Canyon pierced through, shedding blood from wound. He lowered hammer to ground, grabbed lizard by tail, lifted into air, and hit ground with force. Quickly grabbing sword from inventory, Kan Hyun struck strong blow. Blood sprayed from wound in all directions. Skeleton carefully watched him, eyes glowed red, and Kan Hyun himself was shrouded in red radiation magic. He understood now there was one enemy, Skeleton with bald head. Canyon realized magical reserves were almost exhausted. Regeneration was barely warming. Jump to attack Skeleton soaring in air was no longer enough. Additionally, lizard sting lead poison, and limbs were poured with lead heaviness. Heart was beating in unequal rhythm, yet consciousness remained tenacious. He concentrated rest of mana, directing it to poisoning neutralization. Red radiance washed wound, muffling toxin effect. Then, from inventory, Bilan's longsword appeared, once ordinary blade weapon, which was soaked in many enemy blood and gaining ominous aura. Berserker effect broke out on blade. Muscles filled with inhuman power and consciousness began sliding to madness verge. Deafening force explosion was carried through body. Canyon felt poison finally loses strength, and adrenaline excess pushes forward. Kan Hyan stood before Skeleton, exhausted and wounded, yet did not retreat. Inside him there was still determination continuing battle despite exhaustion. He had already prepared for final rush when voice was heard behind him. Behind there was Man, Ability Users Alliance leader, Choi Donva, one of few who completed full training. He appeared suddenly, confident as though from another world. Having evaluated situation and destruction, Donva recognized Canyon's efforts and took command himself. Canyon, with difficulty realizing who before him tried objecting, yet body no longer listened. Forces left him and he fell to knees, then fell on concrete. He admitted to himself it was still hard alone. At last moment, before losing consciousness, thought flashed through head about how Donva spectacularly appeared, like main character in final scene. Ken-yun came to senses in hospital bed. Nearby was sister. She was first noticing he woke up. He, as always, began conversation with reproaches. He reacted in spirit, noting her face is first thing he sees after awakening, and it does not please. She, without losing sarcasm, reminded his life is money waste and would be easier dying. They exchanged barbs, yet in this familiar exchange concern was hidden. Kenyon asked what happened to dungeon where monster breakthrough occurred. Sister replied she did not know details, yet assured, now everything is under control. She told how surprised when called from hospital and how struck when saw in corridor Variability Alliance leader. Kaney recalled business card song Hyun Ho, which he received earlier. Idea that now there may be something owed to someone. He was not pleased. He quickly drove off these thoughts. Sister suddenly became more serious. She warned him being careful. Though he has unique ability, this does not mean immortality. Suddenly, one day he will really die forever. Canyon grinned, yet bitterness vowed in voice. He noted not dying at all for pleasure. After each death, not only pain remains, yet also level fall. Pleasure is dubious. Ken Hun noticed how much sister's expression changed. Instead of usual irritation, fatigue and anxiety appeared in gaze. He felt awkwardly as though first time realized how actions reflected on those nearby. Words he usually threw thoughtlessly now responded with emptiness. He became ashamed and quietly promised himself being careful. Meanwhile, in Ability Users Alliance main office, they discussed reasons for leader's recent decisions. No one could understand why he personally accompanied Ken Yun to hospital and paid for treatment. He admitted being witness to new player appearance who was able changing power balance. He did not want missing chance being next to those who, perhaps, will once overshadow himself. As for escaped Lich, he disappeared from battlefield as soon as realized situation was getting out of control. In hospital, doctor said there were no deviations. Kan Hyun was restored at incredible speed. Canyon told sister he had already been discharged. Everything is in order. Sister was surprised, not believing brother survived again, and asked about treatment payment. Kaney replied, resurrection fine is more expensive than just hospital bed. At this time, unfamiliar man dressed with needle with important face appeared at reception. He asked checking presence of patient named Conan. There was no such patient on database. He could already be discharged. Man was upset, realized he was late, and sighed heavily. At that moment, voice rang behind him. Kan stood looking at him in bewilderment. He came closer, confirming he was inquired about stranger visit purpose. Man introduced himself as Ability Users Unit Leader at Security Department. He handed business card with code of arms and name Shin Til. Kenyun took business card. glanced briefly, then asked why government needed him. Shin replied they have special interest in his abilities, which cannot be ignored. Meat was fried on stove. Aroma spread around room. Kan Hyun evaluated situation. Kanan noticed place is not cheap, yet everything is in order. Interlocutor nodded with smile. Kan Hun grinned, thinking about taxes, which now seemed returning to him in dinner form. Kung Hyun asked directly if going offering him joining organization. Man confirmed, yet added no one would force, this is just proposal. Kenyon thought whether becoming civil servant, in principle, did not sound so bad. Man explained this is more than just position. Participation in New World preparation. Organization appeared as response to changes and awakened user number increase. State realized they could not be kept by force. Conflict would only aggravate situation. Instead of suppression, attempt creating mutually beneficial cooperation system. He clarified he would personally give him part in this, to which Man began explaining benefits. First of all, money, serious payments, and financial support for comfortable work. In case of injuries or death, family assistance, insurance, support at all levels. Kanhen noted conditions are not bad, yet will have to work much for such offer. Man confirmed there was much work, yet no one demands impossible. Action freedom is guaranteed. Man said there are already successful partners, Alliance leader Choi Donva in Konkan. Kan Hayan realized cooperation would open two directions simultaneously for development and influence. Finally, decided trying, ready accepting call and entering new life. Kan Han dreamed getting to Dion's laboratory by car, yet understood everything could be dangerous here. Suddenly, he heard familiar voice and saw girl named Sean. Girl handed him bag with crystals and apologized for transmission delay. Kanhan was surprised she was waiting for him, not even knowing if he would return. Shosan explained she promised helping and could not leave him. Kanhan thanked her and asked where his car was to continue way faster. Girl bowed and asked taking her as student, which caused Kanhan's surprise. He did not expect such offer and asked what she had in mind. Full moon illuminated river. Clouds quickly sailed through night sky. In forest stood F-rank dungeon gates next to Kirka village. Somewhere in distance there was frightening roar, forcing forest trembling. Skeleton thought never expected being cornered by people, had to hide in this abandoned and gloomy place. Suddenly Man appeared before him, D-rank dungeon boss. He turned to him. Man asked Skeleton about Lishi Dayan. Skeleton was surprised. He explained he freed Skeleton and is not enemy. He held out hand, asking if Skeleton would take proposal helping. Skeleton was silent, weighing whether worth trusting stranger. Morning came and girl introduced herself as Shinen, smiling at table with Union. Yan teased Kanhen. He thought he had no friends. Will not be able recruiting anyone. Khan was surprised and asked what he said. Entering conversation. He retorted having several friends, yet thought moment, or maybe not. He stated it does not matter. He was first bringing new person to guild, and therefore won dispute. Canyon recalled loser treats, yet Yusen said he was constantly treating. Yusen agreed with loss, yet recalled need going through test for joining their guild. Everyone decided going to dungeon. Girl expressed readiness without hesitation. Kenyon noted Yusen clearly wants starting fight as soon as possible. Fists are scratching. Dungeon clutch harpies. Harpies attacked from all sides. Yusen, Sonu, Kenhyun, and Girl stood in center, ready for battle. Girl pulled bow and shot right on one harpy forehead. Harpy collapsed to ground, amazed at exact hit. Isen noted trucker in team helps much. Now team is like real one. Kenyun asked if Girl had test. Ian was surprised. He completely forgot about it and tried getting out, yet was convicted of desire just hunting. Girl took out dagger and said would go collecting magic crystals. Kan Hyun advised not wasting time on trifles, yet Girl said she liked it. Yusen recalled crystals are money and should not scatter them. Kan Hun objected not being beggar. He prefers earning on dungeon nuclei. Kanhun asked what use in earnings. He boasted having much money. He did not need it, yet Kaney did not believe. Kenhun thought and asked if also feeling strange tension. Girl looked at them and asked what exactly happened. Kanan's eyes flashed and he waved fist on Guy. Blow fell right on cheek. Guy whipped, falling to ground. Kanhun noted Guy was hiding well and disappeared being unnoticed. Uses invisibility. Despite good hiding, Kan Hyun did not notice enemy approach. He did not feel bloodthirst with Guy. He is not here. Ken Hyun wondered why Guy generally go here with such secrecy, and suggested Guy just passed by. Do not worry. Kenyon reproached Deson for caution lack. He noted sneaking up to Hunter in dungeon is bad tone. Guy remained off after blow. Ken Hyun began expressing assumption about Guy motifs. There was signature on document. Contract was concluded. Man thanked Ken Hun for cooperation. Kenyon replied ready helping if necessary. Man said there is already matter. He asked if Kan Hoon knew about dungeon attack. It was about intentional breakthrough provocation. Man explained their team is watching guilty. Soon large-scale raid is planned. Then Conan's help will be needed. Contract and upcoming mission became meeting key moments. Guy sat tied against wall. His face was doused with strange liquid. He opened eyes and in confusion asked what was happening. Ken Hun said Guy woke up. Guy did not understand how he was in this position. He was indignant because of pungent smell and dirt. Kan Hyun apologized and explained situation. Water was replaced by urine due to reserve shortage. Guy was very surprised by such explanation. His shock intensified from what he heard. Situation remained tense and strange. Guy had gag reflex from Kyun's words. He was indignant that monster urine was poured on him. Ken Hyun demanded question answers. He stated Guy is terrorist. Guy contemptuously responded about terrorist name. He said their actions are for great goal's sake. Ken Hin said not giving damn about their goals. He demanded truth in return for freedom. Guy refused telling anything. He assured nothing would stop them. Day was replaced by evening. Guy finally spoke and asked, giving him word. Ken Hun answered calmly, being in no hurry, noticing Guy's remaining teeth. Guy screamed. Sun hid behind horizon. Arriving civil servants asked if Kon Hyun really caught terrorist. Ken Hun showed Guy and confirmed this. Guy begged for salvation. Man asked what happened to him. Ken Hyun suggested Harpy could attack. Guy was taken away, promising taking care of everything. Ian said goodbye to official. He bowed back. Ken Hyun asked if familiar with official. Yusen said he offered contract, yet refused. Yusen said having no interest in such matters. Ken Hyun joked about Eon politeness. Decided discussing all details tomorrow without strangers. Night changed to morning. Official said terrorist name Young Eon Sik. Terrorist unique ability was secrecy, important for organization. Kan Hen noted spy did not report anything new. Official said terrorist base was found. Large-scale stripping planned in 2 weeks. Cannon was surprised why preparation takes so much time. Official recalled S-rank gates were first activated in China. He confirmed media are silent for important information. 1,200 people participated in last cleansing. Majority died. Kanan was very surprised by such losses. He was reminded himself cleaned dear dungeons alone. He has known how dangerous it is. Dungeon danger increases with S-rank geometric progression. Kanhen thought twice as many people needed raising. He believed one would cope with such task. In China, they acted on basic dungeon theory, yet crashed. Many people volunteered helping, yet abilities were mediocre. Therefore, decided creating elite group for S-rank gate in Kanam. Task is cleaning Viandi forest. Gates were guarded by military. Cannon thought about why participating if Chinese themselves cope. He suggested breakthrough can be avoided by destroying ordinary nuclei. Official noted no one has managed destroying usual core so far. If nothing is done, breakthrough will happen within 2 weeks. 12 days remain before gate opening. Monsters can kill hundreds of people in Soul Center where always crowded. Kanhen was confused and realized good preparation was needed. Experts believe there will be even more victims than at first cleansing. Time is running out, and Kanhen's participation is extremely important. He noted action freedom makes his mission key. Officials said they would not be able acting alone. He asked Ken Hyun, establishing guild for country's sake. All formal procedures will take on and provide support. Kenyon thought about requesting conditions. He realized guild creation is inevitable. Simultaneously, they are offered doing most work. Kaney believed luck is on his side. Later in cafe, Kanhan proposed coming up with guild name. Isein was surprised there are only 3 participants so far. Need choosing name right now. Kanhan recalled meeting with government official. Grinned, thinking about S-rank dungeon stripping. Discussed guild policy not entering empty conflicts. Always pay off, good and bad. Do not become bandits, yet also not being fools. Main goal is being stronger than anyone. Asan and Sona agreed with plan. Kennen promised remembering this forever. Yusen proposed name. Rejected because of profanity. Then Yusen proposed lunatic. Kaney asked recalling word meaning. Meaning is same as first name. Girl thought powerful bunch of cannons suggested. Canyon realized would have to come up with himself. Ian laughed. Canyon wrote name on sheet. Yusen and Sona approved. Young Yansik was caught. Breakthrough plan for hygiene plane tour. Ken Hyan is known for single feats in catching secretive opponents. Problems with subject search are slowed by scientific research. Girl is afraid becoming experimental in drug experiment. She must find subjects in time. Internet is discussing elite team creation for cleaning S-rank dungeon. Forest funds will become large-scale battle arena with monsters. New guilds are of great interest among public and experts. Dangun Guild is influential and irreplaceable in Korean arena. Ability Users Alliance attracts attention yet causes doubts. Horn Guild is strong in battle, though leader does not stand out in appearance. Eternity is top guild with legendary fighter composition. Keepers are considered reliable yet less well-known guild. Black Knights stand out with style and combine elite of top 10. Guild success will decide Korea fate in upcoming sweep. Excitement and expectation growing as mission approaches. Network comments are violently discussing beginners at number 7. No one had heard about Badass Guild. Consider them weak. Guild name causes ridicule and comparison with rude words. Beginners have just registered and raised public doubts. In conference hall, guild leaders gathered for important meeting. Ken Hyun lingered and was late for first guild collection. He introduced himself as Badass Guild Leader, arousing surprise and interest. People then called this event with First Guild Gathering. After many such exits, no one will surprise anyone. Dungeon era began 6 months ago with general sleep in 7 billion people. This dream changed world and caused chaos around new guilds. Among many guilds, one special is distinguished. Bad AC. Name Bad Ace raises ridicule and questions in people. Ability Users section under Shinty Guild leadership, as can be called profane. Kan Hyun considers name closer to added than to profane. Man doubts yet, Ken Hun is sure name sounds cool. Next week meeting on S-rank dungeon in Forest will take place. Meeting scheduled for 11 a.m. Monday. Participants are strongly recommended not being late for important event. Dungeon era turned world into chaos. Hundreds of people disappeared daily. 4 days later, Monday came, appointed meeting day. Ian was waiting at entrance, noting Kan Hyun did not come on time again. Ken Hun appeared late, calmly waving hand on way. He said lingered for domestic reasons, not particularly apologizing. Ian looked at outfit and noted absurd children t-shirt. Kan Hun explained character on clothes is now very popular. Eon was not convinced, yet continued observing silently. Internet actively discusses Kune reputation full of negativity and rumors. Particular attention paid to appearance, comparing with Street Bandit. To change perception, Kan Hyun decided adding little friendliness to image. His choice fell on bright t-shirt with children character to soften image. Ian was surprised at strange approach and doubted idea effectiveness. He noted even with t-shirt Kanyun appearance frightening. If he saw this t-shirt in childhood, would roar. Ken thought about words and remembered case with children in parking lot. He came to conclusion children burst into tears precisely because of him. Understanding this fact clearly upset him, yet did not show. Attempt looking friendly turned into another strange situation. Meeting room. Time goes on. Already 11:05. Still not started. Eternity leader looks at clock. Situation is tense. Kumun is irritated. Agreed starting at 11. Lich Han noon from Black Knight's notes. 2 more guilds are waiting. Payson from Keeper's frowns. This time Huan is not alone. Dangun leader and Alliance head are also waiting. Views become sharp. Shindigel goes to elevator, tries getting through. Called subscriber does not answer again. He is dialing Yusen, hopes to answer. First taken for telephone scammer. Ian is having fun. He says soon everyone will laugh. Shinte is confused. Asked coming to meeting. Roar is heard from elevator. Ken Hyun comes out dragging Guy Gol. Pak Hyon does not believe eyes. Ken Hyun clapped with Hwarren leader. He thinks one that is completely crazy. He is top 3 Korea, yet Kaney looks coldly. Not interested in titles. Few minutes ago, Trinity entered elevator. Conhan pressed 11th floor button. Doors almost closed, yet at last moment, hand slipped into gap. Man in cloak and 2 fighters in massive armor went inside, stomping loudly on floor. Elevator shuddered. Knight's leader announced destination, also 11th. In elevator, they shook hands. One introduced himself as second master, badass leader. Kanye mentally cursed delay. Clock hand rose higher. Electronic voice announced overload and demanded leaving cab. All glances fell on knight armor, looking like fantasy film costumes. Kung Hyun was surprised why such entourage for regular meeting and not stripping. Voron leader, with smile, proposed decision. They will rise first. Conhan was surprised, yet leader explained, large guild status gives priority. Yusen and Sona looked at each other, not believing what was happening. Argument sounded simple. Important people should go first. Kyon was boiling silently. Politeness is over. Leader is sore with grin hinted small guilds should give way to greater. Conan squinted. Word meaning was clear. They were simply considered back. Yen bowed head slightly, already calculating fighting points on enemy body. He unemotionally evaluated how many teeth can be knocked out with one blow. Kung Hun grinned. Elevator atmosphere became more and more intense. Leader as horseman tried justifying himself, saying this did not mean, yet even apologies sounded condescendingly as from someone confident in superiority. Ian, without blinking, appreciated option breaking legs first and leaving teeth for later. Kaney smiled, restraining irritation while enemy broadcast about event importance. His face became serious when mentioning strange illness, arrogance, intolerance. Yusen laughed and elevator tension increased sharply. Later in conference room, official reproached. He warned this was an important event. Fight was not justified. One leader tried diffusing situation, offering new guilds introducing themselves. Officials supported idea and turned to Kan Yun with request for idea. Conan shrugged, counting similar ceremony strange, yet still began. He calmly introduced himself as badass guild leader, noting there are only 3 of them. Sorcerer did not hide shock. 3 participants seemed absurd to him. His anger intensified while Conhan retorted with lazy contempt, calling him inappropriate name. One guild leader laughed and expressed sympathy for Kon Hyun character. Sword was boiled with anger, yet seated in place so as not tearing meeting. Yusen quietly called Kon Hen and pointed to man by wall. He was Guardian's guild leader, familiar face from past. Yen tightly squeezed mace hilt, preparing dealing with it right away.